What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another day, another episode of The Daily Grind. I'm your host, 30NSG, and on today's show, we're going to be talking about Robert Downey Jr. Refuses to let Hollywood create his AI digital, replica. So we'll talk about that a little bit. We're going to talk about Path of Exile's 2 early access release date pushed to December. I don't really think it's a big deal. It's early access, and it's a free-to-play game. But we'll talk about that. We're also going to watch SkillUp's I do not recommend Dragon Age Veilguard review. I mean, spoiler alert, I guess he doesn't like it. But I haven't watched it, but based off the title alone, I'm assuming he doesn't like it. So we're going to watch that. It's a long one. It's 46 minutes. So we're going to watch that and see what he has to say. And that's about it. If you guys like what I do here, we talk about gaming news, entertainment news, have conversations. We do this from 10 o'clock in the morning to about noon Eastern. Hit that like button. Hit that, man, my brain just went to hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. What's going on, Jason? What's going on, Rowick? What's going on, Dustin? Wow, I'm live? Why wouldn't I be live, Dustin? I'm live Monday through Thursday from 10 o'clock in the morning till noon Eastern. Tomorrow, we won't be live because I've said that I'll be out of town. What's going on, Kraken? So we're going to start off, obviously, the SkillUp review will be last. So let's start off with the Path of Exile stuff. Lots of drama going on Twitter about Maddie Plays. Last night I saw this wall of text. I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I didn't even give 2 shits. Apparently, some footage got out, or clips got out. It was tied back to him because of his rook. And now the world's coming down. So, I have no idea what's going on there. All I know is a wall of text. I was like, that's too long for to read. Too long for read, and I don't care. So if anyone has the Cliff Note versions besides what I just said, let me know. I should say I don't care. I don't care that much. When I see a wall of text, multiple paragraphs on Twitter, I'm like, I'm good. I'm good. What's going on, Dolphin? All right. IGN wrote an article. Actually, before we get to the article, Path of Exile says, in order to ensure a smooth launch, Path of Exile 2's early access will be delayed for 3 weeks. A water bear. Water bear is probably really upset right now. I know he was one of them looking forward to Path of Exile. I don't think this is a big deal. We'll listen to what the guy has to say. The new date is December 6th. Uh-oh, that's the same day as Marvel Rivals. What's going to happen? Game director Jonathan Rogers below. So let's listen to him. Let me silence this music for a second. Let's go back over here.
Unfortunately, hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers, game director on Path of Exile 2. Unfortunately, I have some really bad news. We have to delay early access for 3 weeks. The new date is the 6th of December.
Why does everybody look like they're held at gunpoint? Right? Like, I have some really bad news. It's not that big of a deal. I'll be honest. I know people are excited about video games. Like my son right now, he is so excited about Microsoft Flight Sim 2024. He can't stop talking about it. I get it. I understand there's fans out there that are super, like, into all of the stuff. I used to be there, okay? But why? I mean, let's start it over again, okay? He's like, I got some really bad news. Oh, shit. Like, in his brain, I feel like if you ever watched Inside Out, I feel like the crew inside of his brain is going, panic! Panic!
I'm really sorry. Hi, I'm Jonathan Rogers, game director on Path of Exile 2. Unfortunately, I have some really bad news. We have to delay early access for 3 weeks. The new date is the 6th of December. I'm really sorry about this one. People plan time off and things like that around our launches, but we just have to do it. So what happened? Well, it turns out it isn't really the game itself that we're behind on. It's a bunch of server-side infrastructure work that has taken us a lot longer than we expected. Now, one of the key promises we made is that all
right, well, first of all, it's good news. It's not the game. It's good news that they're delaying it because obviously it's an online game. Obviously, it's also an early access game. So, look, we talk about this all the time. I'll let him finish in a second, right? We always talk about don't put a release date on. This is not technically a release date. This is an early access date, okay, release. So the full game doesn't come out until next year, but the early access comes out right now. So if you need time to work on your game or fix your game, cool. You know what I'm saying? Like he just said, he knows that people took time off and whatnot and are very excited about stuff. Like my kid wants to skip school just so he can play Flight Simulator. Was November 19th. He's like, he's got his whole plan day out. Like his whole day planned out where he's like, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to do this. I get my homework done the day before. I'm like, all right, bud, whatever you want, as long as you get your stuff done. Right. So I totally get that he's passionate. You can tell he's passionate about what's happening and he feels bad. Okay. Let me fix his face there. But I really don't think this is that big of a deal because it's early access. But let's continue.
Work that has taken us a lot longer than we expected. Now, one of the key promises we made is that all your microtransactions will work across both POE 1 and 2. In order to do that, we have to integrate the account systems for not only POE 1 and 2, but also for the console realms as well. This meant changing a lot of things. Not only do we have to create a bunch of new systems, we have to make sure that all the old data is backwards compatible with them as well. And when you start migrating databases that are this old and with this much data, you find all sorts of strange demons in there.
Now, they made their own bed. They have to lie in it now. Okay, they're merging all this stuff together. They chose to do this. Okay, again, it's early access. I think everything is fine here. I don't think is bad. Right? One, is there early access to pay for? Is anyone paying for it to get early access, or is it early access for everybody? It's just early access.
Yeah.
I'm asking, Chad. I don't know.
How do multiple accounts get the same name? How do multiple accounts get the same email address? How do multiple accounts have the same Steam IDs? Why is this person's account name just random gibberish that doesn't even decode? We have to get everything perfect so that nobody loses anything they paid for and nobody has their account broken. At the same time, because we're changing all this backend code, we have to do a lot of load testing to make sure the whole thing doesn't fall over when they get the huge number of players that we're expecting at launch. I actually believe that we could possibly have made the original launch date, but I'm no longer confident we could do it without making mistakes. And these are the
I like what he said there. He says we could have made the actual launch date, but I don't want to make the actual launch date because I don't want to make mistakes. Now, he's putting himself out there, and I appreciate that, right? Because other companies, now he is one of those companies. He works for one of those companies, but most companies will just push it out and then fix it later, okay? He's saying, I don't want to push it out. I want to delay it to fix it. And they might push it back even further if they still can't fix it.
Kind of mistakes that we just can't let happen. So with that in mind, we've decided to delay. Now this one's totally on me. I just didn't leave it.
I like that as well. Taking the blame on himself, totally on himself. Kudos.
Enough time to make sure we could get it done. And I'm really sorry. This one really hurts. Now we're going to be having a live stream talking about all the content you can expect in POE 2's early access in about 4 weeks. You can think of it like the biggest league announcement we've ever done. I'm really looking forward to telling you guys about the in-game content that the team have been working hard on. Until then, thank you very much for your support.
Yeah, but Sarge, there's a little difference here. There's a little difference. The game, he said in the very beginning, I don't know if you missed it, he said the game is ready. The game is ready. It's the server-side stuff that's not ready with the merging of Path of Exile 1 into 2. So everything that someone paid for in Path of Exile 1, they're trying to get it on the back end so it works, so it's not broke when it comes out, right? So that's the thing. It's not the game. It's the server-side stuff, making sure that everything works so it doesn't just get destroyed when it comes out for the amount of players that are going to play, right? So I think it's a good thing that he's come out and said it, right? A lot of developers don't take the blame for themselves. They blame other people. They point fingers here and there. Okay, instead of taking it. Sure, the game is ready. I mean, You could say that to anything, right? But at the same time, that's what he said. The game is ready. It's the server-side stuff, merging all the things with all the people's names and all the stuff. I mean, I could call him a liar, but it's just easier taking what he said, right? And then if it comes out later he's a liar, well, then we can call him a liar. All right, so let's read what IGN has to say. It says, Path of Exile 2 early access release date pushed back to December 6th. It sounds like if they don't fix it out, it might get pushed back even further. But Path of Exile 2 early access release date, okay, has been pushed for 3 weeks from November 15th to December 6th. Game director Jonathan Rogers appeared in his very apologetic Twitter video to announce the delay. It says he is really sorry about the one because understands that fans have booked time off and based off of the old release date, but just have to do it. Okay, so we've already seen and read all this. That's all the quotes. He says, those looking forward to Path of Exile 2 can at least expect a stream with the major updates around 4 weeks, Rogers said, meaning roughly November 26th, right? So it was supposed to come out 3 weeks from now. Now it's coming out 6 weeks from now. So they have 6 weeks, 6 more weeks of trying to fix the stuff, right? So the update is 4 weeks, Rogers said, meaning roughly November 26th. Path of Exile 2 is the sequel, beloved free-to-play action role-playing game, grinding gear games coming to PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, S, and PlayStation, or and PC. Set years after the original Path of Exile, up to 6 players can return to the dark. So, I think on a normal game, if this was the actual release date, because it's not the actual release date, it's an early access release date. I don't think this is as big as what I talk about when all these other games are coming out. Like, there's a difference between, hey, the game's coming out on November 15th, the game, like gold edition of the game, and our early access is going to be delayed, right? So which one is it, right? Which one would you rather have? The full-fledged game that's delayed 3 more weeks, or the early access at 3 more weeks? The game doesn't come out till next year. So this is, I think, not as big a deal as other games coming out and having problems with it. Now, obviously, it is a big deal for the people that are paying for it if they're paying for early access. Chat, Altern says, oh, that's the wrong one. Altern says, I think right now it's a paid early access. I think he says it's paid early access. So if it is early access for people that paid, it sucks for them, but at the same time, get your shit in order before you have to put it out there. All right? I know a lot of people are like super excited, right? Super excited. Free-to-play game, I'm okay with delays. Well, that's another thing, Cybersword, right? Not only is it early access, but it's a free-to-play game, right? It's a free-to-play game. So a lot of people that are paying to get the early access, I get it. It sucks for them. But if the guy tells you behind the scenes is going to be messed up because of all the stuff, then they need to switch that, or fix that, I should say. So if YouTube did a blip, it just showed a blip on my side. Just make sure you guys refresh. It should fix it. Yeah, the game is free, Dolphin. But the early access, I think to get early access, I think you have to pay like a Founders Pack or something. Let's see. Let's see. Access confirmed confusion. How to access early access of Path of Exile 2. New supporter packs will be available. So yeah, so it's a supporter pack. Any player that purchased a top-tier supporter pack in the past will get a key. And if a player has made a lifetime purchase amounting of over $500, they also get a key. So there you go. New supporter, and then every day a random group of players, 50 to 100-ish, get a key. If it's possible that Path of Exile 2, EA won't each follow the bulletins precisely, also be closed, be able to pay access through the supporter packs. So there's supporter packs that you pay. But if you already were a supporter in the past, they already give you a key. And if you have, if you spent more than $500, you get a key as well. Expensive. let me just tell you, that's expensive. I'd be like, if anyone spent $1 in the game, you get a key. Let's go on, Hilly. There was a paid early access to GGG. I've been running closed random sections beta. This is essentially the open beta. Got it. Ron says, just play Diablo 4. All right, real quick. You guys are letting me know about Altern says, the thing for Maddie, the TLDR, is he sent a clip to one of his editors, and the editor shared it with a friend, and so on. So it was sent to a YouTuber that claimed to have inside info. Interesting. Okay, and East Vandal says, Maddie's embargo game footage got leaked, and a racist anti-DEI grifter used his footage and made an anti-DEI Dragon Age video using all sorts of racist slurs. Folks thought it was Maddie on an alt account. Ugh. No wonder he wrote a book on Twitter. Would have just came out with a video. Like, it was a book. I was like, oh, Maddie tweeted something. I was like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, holy Christ. I just kept scrolling. I was like, Jesus, that's a book. Argus says, Path of Exile 2 is going to be better than Diablo. Just play Diablo instead. Will never be the answer when it comes to Path of Exile. Path of Exile is just superior. Dolphin says, yeah, Maddie thing doesn't make sense. It took him 12 hours to respond. Well, here, I'll defend him here for the 12 hours. I don't ever go on social media. Then again, I'm also not Maddie Plays where I have as many subscribers and whatnot. So his foot's more in that area where he's always on his phone, I would assume, and talking to people. But sometimes I don't even look at my phone for 12 hours, right? And like social media is what I mean, right? So, I mean, I get that, right? But it does seem odd. It does seem odd for someone that's like in it, you know what I mean, to not check social media for 12 hours. There are no supporter packs on Steam or their website. Where are people getting their info? I don't know. Let's look it up. Let's look it up, Cybersword. Let's see. On Path of Exile's thing, it says, where can I buy the Path of Exile 2 supporter pack? Where can I buy the supporter pack, which grants access to the closed beta, please? I'm afraid we don't have any additional information on the Path of Exile 2 beta just yet. I mean, recommend keeping an eye open up on the Path of Exile forums, so that's not there. Core supporter packs. That's just for one. That's for game one. This is on October 1st here. On MMORPG. Path of Exile 2 early access details coming soon. To supporter packs will offer keys. Developer Grinding Gear Games has officially announced they expect information on the early access for the game. The late last month spoke to the designer for skill and character builds, Grinding Gear Games, what the developer plans to make a game improvements. It doesn't say anywhere. So apparently you can't. Okay, so apparently you can't even purchase, the way it seems like here, that you can't even purchase yet, right? So you will be able to purchase it once it releases now on December 6th. It'll have early access stuff. That's what it looks like. Or Randall says 12 hours is a fast response, very touchy subject, and his word apology had to be thoughtful. He has a huge audience, and it was also leaked footage. Companies won't trust him with NDAs. Oh, absolutely. I don't think that 12 hours is unfeasible, Vandal. Like I said, there's times I don't even look at it, and I'm on. Almost, you know what I mean? Like, I'm a YouTuber, and sometimes I just don't care. He's much younger than me, though. I'll be honest. He's like early 30s, right? Late 20s, early 30s. I would have to read his apology. Like I said, too much words on Twitter. I was like, I'm not reading that. I'll watch a video. If he came out with a video, I would watch a video. But I'm not reading a wall of text. This is also coming from a guy that doesn't really go to social media. right? I really don't follow much on social media. He's not even 30? Yeah, he's like late 20s, right? He's like 28 or something like that. Jason says, Path of Exile is superior, but also way more complex. It's pretty much mandatory to watch build guides for that game. This is one of the reasons I didn't play it, Jason. It is very, like... It's a really fun game, but you have to dive into it, and I don't have the time for it. I don't have the time for it. Too crowded. Come on, Jones. Jones says 12 hours is a quick turnaround for most jobs. Yeah, I have no problem with the 12-hour. Like, you got to get your thoughts together, as Vandal said, right? Like, if something's going down, you have to get your shit together. You don't want to just instantaneously, like, punch back, right? And be like, oh, no, and start to freak out, because then you don't have time to think. And then if you automatically react to it, like something says, oh, something's happening, and you respond right too fast, then later you're thinking, oh, I should have said this, oh, I should have said that. Now you're just thinking the entire time, okay, let's put this out on, work it out, put it on social media. I think that's a better way of doing it. But this is the age of, right? Everyone wants to, as fast as possible. They're fast forwarding through 5-minute videos. They watch 30 seconds. Hell, I didn't even read his apology. You see what I'm saying? Altered says, like I saw Luke Stevens' 2-hour review of Dragon Age, and he also said people try to hack into the ACC for Starfield footage, so maybe it's more common for them. Interesting. Argus says, just be warned that Path of Exile paid stuff is very expensive. So much more than even COD. And more. Don't gasp when you see those prices if you want it early access. Well, they said if you spend at least $500, you'll get an early access automatically, right? So, Dolphin says there's also other things that happen too. The troll deactivated his account, and then after the apology, activated his account. Wait a minute. So, I'm confused based on what you guys are telling me. Was there footage in a YouTuber, or was it on Twitter? Or was it both? You know what I mean? I'm a little confused, right? I asked for the download. You guys are giving me the download, but as I'm reading what you guys are saying, I'm confused. Was it a video that was made and had footage, or was it a Twitter account that had photos? I know it got linked back to him because I saw Paul Tassie's tweet, and this is why I saw Maddie's tweet, which I didn't want to read. He said, imagine, Paul Tassie had a tweet saying, imagine being linked because of your rook. And I was like, what's your rook? And I was like, oh, the main character. So Maddie got linked because the picture or video that you guys are saying was linked back to his footage from his review. See, I didn't watch his review. I wanted to be the first review we watched was SkillUp today, right? So, which one is it? Was it a troll on Twitter, or was it a YouTuber making a video, or was it both? Robert Jones says, facts. I come to the stream so 30 can read the wall of text to me. Articles are different. Like, I'll read an article. If Maddie wants to start a website and have an article, I'll read the article. I'm not reading 4 paragraphs on Twitter. That's not what Twitter's for. Yeah, Dolphin. Yeah, Lono made that mistake. Dr. Disrespect made that mistake. Yeah. You don't want to just pop back. You want to take a breath, figure out what the fuck's going on, get your thoughts together, and then put something out. Altered says a vid was made first. The guy claimed to have insider info. Then Maddie reviewed releases, and people knew it was Maddie because of his character. Then people started making up stuff. Oh, so it's like a game of fucking telephone at this point, I'll turn. So wait a minute. I have a question. So someone took footage from Maddie's YouTube and made it into a different video. So a video was made first, and the guy claimed he had insider info. But it was actually Maddie's review. Oh, I see what you're saying. So this YouTube came out before Maddie's video came out yesterday, and when Maddie put his video up, they saw that, wait a minute, he's got the same rook as this guy who said he had insider info. Is that what you're saying? After the people said that it was his friend and broke NDA and whatnot, then they apologized saying he doesn't know who the YouTuber is. Well, look, there's got to be a paper trail. And what I mean by this is, who's the YouTuber? Who's the YouTuber that put it out there, and then ask him, where did you get your fucking info from? Obviously, that's Maddie's Plays, like, footage. So did you get it from Maddie Plays? And if he says, no, I didn't get it from Maddie Plays, then he'd be like, okay, who did you get it from? And then you got to follow that back. The images were on Twitter for weeks, and he didn't apologize until someone pointed them out. Maybe he didn't see them. Whoa, holy Christ, we're going down a rabbit hole. The images were on Twitter for weeks? They've been playing the game for 2 weeks. In his reviews, I believe every reviewer said they've played it for 2 weeks. Right? They've had it for 2 weeks. Right? So you're saying it's been out for weeks. See, this is like a game of telephone. It's been out for days or weeks. Cybersword says the drama around this game is ridiculous. If the game is good, it will do well. Stop caring so much about what others think. Yeah, no, I'm more interested now, Cybersword, and what the hell's happening with Maddie Plays. Right? I don't get involved with the drama. I ask, and all of a sudden you guys have pieced things together. I'm like, wait a minute, this sounds way worse than what I originally thought it was. Right? I don't even care about the game at this point. This is breaking NDAs, dicking someone over, right? Someone stealing someone's footage. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on here. Altered says, like I said, the first showed the video to an editor, and then the editor shared it with a friend, and then a friend of a friend, and so on. Oh my God. Why work alone? This is why I work alone. It's a nothing burger. It doesn't sound like a nothing burger. It sounds like if based on the one paragraph that I read yesterday and then said I stopped, is that Maddie said if they don't ever work with him again or trust him because he broke an NDA, he understands. That's a big loss. It's a big loss for Maddie and moving forward with his content. Right? Because if now other companies will look at him and say, well, how do we know you're not gonna do that to us? Right? It's huge. I know you guys, some of you don't give a shit, but as a YouTuber, I'm like, man, that's bad. It has potential for mega drama. Yeah. Because look, access media is the way it goes. We just talked about this yesterday. People getting codes and doing reviews, not paying for their stuff, right? You got to play ball. And if you sign NDAs and stuff like that, there's NDAs that I've signed for companies and stuff that I'm linked to life. Like I worked for government activities, okay? I can't say shit about nothing besides I had contracts with them, okay? So they're probably not as strict as that, but NDAs, some people just break NDAs, right? Some people just don't give a shit. So who did it? We don't know who did anything, M. Baines. Maddie didn't. We don't know if Maddie did it. Based on the information that my chat's giving me, it sounds like someone took his footage. Not to mention his footage was used in very racist anti-DEI video. Not a good look. Yeah, that's even worse on top of that, Vandal. Like, this is not just man loses footage someone posts on internet. This is a big a big deal. I guess we'll wait and figure it out because I don't want to. I feel like, you know, that guy, red board at the red board. He's like trying to put the stuff together. Yeah, I'll wait. I'll wait and see how it all plays out. That's interesting. Dolphin says it wouldn't be so bad if those images were used against the company to talk shit about the game. BioWare's not going to just brush that off. Yeah, but it's one, it's NDA breaking. Two, it's first of all, how do they not know who the troll is? Here's what I don't understand. Can I just ask a question? When we all sign up for Twitter, okay, you sign up with your name and something's linked, and then you also put an email, and then that email can get linked back to someone, and they can link that email back to where the IP address is, and there's ways to figure out who said what, who did what, who that person is, not just behind, 30 NSG, right? Like, people can find shit out super easy, right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So why are we protecting people if someone said something that was egregious, right? Again, I don't even know, right? And if they were doing something and the guy stole footage, it's super simple. Ring, ring. Hey, we saw that you posted something. Where'd you get your footage? And they'd be like, how the fuck did you find me? Like, it's super easy. Are you allowed to use editors if you are a YouTuber doing an embargo review? Yes, I would assume, and this is what I'm going to tell you. You're allowed to use a... If I get a review and I'm working for 30 NSG, Jones, I'm an entity. 30 NSG is an entity. It's a company. The editor that I hired, I'm paying, is part of that editor, right? So if I go get footage and then I give it to my editor, he's part of Maddie Plays, 30 NSG, Dr. Disrespect, whatever, underneath that umbrella of stuff. So yeah, it's a business. Just like Legacy Gaming had a review and a bunch of other people. So they're under businesses. So 100% the reviewer is allowed to see the footage because they signed the thing underneath the name, the business, not the person, right? Now, obviously, if I'm just myself, okay, well, then it would just be you. And then if you gave it to somebody else, then you would break NDA. But I would assume that Maddie Plays is a business, right? And that when he hires people, they're all underneath the company. If the footage is legit, you have to acquit. Nice, Hilly. Man, just speak of the monster and the Monster Hunter Wilds, and that's hard monster to fight. Yourself has 3 other monsters with it. I can't play that until the 31st, so. Altern says, by the way, I just read the Mr. Matty tweet. Don't know what the other YouTuber did. Yeah, I don't... Obviously, Jones, each YouTuber's themselves, but I'm assuming that the size of Mr. Matty and that he has an editor, maybe he has multiple editors, I don't know, that he's doing stuff, and they would be underneath the company. Serge says, but how do I know you're you, bro? You could be anyone. That's right. That's right. If it leaks from him, he is responsible. And that's what he's taking responsibility for. Saying the small bit that I read, he's saying if they don't want to work with him again or give him NDAs or, no one wants to give him codes anymore, he's taking that. He's being responsible and saying that, which he should be, because that's his business. He hires people, and if people go rogue, I mean, it's shitty. This is why you have to be careful who you hire, right? Used to work in a place that made military trucks. They wouldn't let anyone have phones or anything on the national security reasons. It's the company's job to enforce rules. There you go, right? So going forward, Mr. Matty and probably lots of other YouTubers are going to put it in their contract when they hire editors. If you leak or anything comes back to you that you leaked footage, you're 100% liable, and we will sue you to kingdom come, right? So if you're an editor for somebody, you better not break that rule, right? Because he's passing the buck, right? And I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Mr. Matty is passing the buck to his editor. He's like, I don't know what's going on here, and the editor is probably passing the buck to someone else. I don't know. I left my computer open, and, you know, someone took a picture. Whatever, right? This guy's pointing the finger here. This guy's pointing the finger here. Someone's got to figure out how the troll got the footage, and if the footage was leaked, stolen, shit has to happen, right? Well, you don't want to put the editor on blast if the editor didn't do anything, right? You don't want to just jump and punch somebody real fast. You want to figure out, oh, okay. You know what I'm saying, Dolphin? Like, if two people are fighting and then someone grabs the person to pull one person off and the person that's getting his ass kicked punches the person that's helping him, you're like, what the fuck, man? I was helping you. Like, they weren't even looking. They're just so in the moment. They're just swinging at everybody, right? Because they're protecting themselves. Well, you don't want to randomly swing at somebody if that person's not actually a problem. I'm sympathetic if you get hacked. Sure. All for Twitter clout. Yeah, it's weird. It's weird. Obviously, I'm looking at it from 30,000 feet. I'm putting pieces together from what you guys are telling me. I didn't look too much into it. But hope it works out. Hope it works out. Another thing I hope that works out is the next story. The next story. Robert Downey Jr. refuses to let Hollywood create his AI digital replica. He says, I intend to sue all future executives who recreate my likeness. Well, there you go. Robert Downey Jr. is going to sue everybody. He's suing everybody. He's like, I'm going to sue everyone. Hollywood, you want to use me? You better use me, not my AI stuff. I'm suing everyone. If you guys like what I do here, we just talk news stories, have conversations, watch videos, give you my thoughts and opinions. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. If you'd like to go above and beyond that, become a member as little as $5. Do appreciate you very much. Shows at the last second. Anyway, Path of Exile, pay to win. Hilly says, I take full responsibility if nobody else is willing. All good drama needs an ending. Yeah. Yes, Robert Downey Jr. became Nintendo. He's suing everybody. Oh, did that video come out, Dustin? Did they we'll watch that in a second. We'll watch that in a second for the Indiana Jones stuff. All right, so let's talk about Robert Downey Jr. Okay, so Robert Downey Jr. Refuses to let Hollywood create his digital AI replica. Okay, so Robert Downey Jr. appeared in a recent episode on with Kara Swisher podcast and set a stern warning to Hollywood. In the age of AI, I intend to sue all future executives who sign off on the creation of Downey digital replica. The Oscar winner does not want his likeness being used on screen through AI technology and or deepfakes. The topic came up in relation to Downey's Marvel's tenure as Iron Man, but he's confident that Marvel would not recreate his Tony Stark through AI. He says, quote, there's two tracks. How do I feel about everything that's going on? I feel about it as minimally because I have an actual emotional life is occurring that doesn't have a lot of room for that. Downey said that he was when asked about being digitally recreated in the future. He says, quote, to go back to the MCU, I'm not worried about the hijacking of my career soul because it's also like 3 or 4 guys and gals who make all the decisions there. And anyway, they could never do that to me with or without me, he added. He says, when co-host Swisher said the future executives certainly will want to digitally recreate Downey on a big screen, the actor responded, well, you're right. And I would like to hear state that I intend to sue all future executives just on spec. Okay. He says, you'll be dead, Swisher noted, on which Downey replied, but my law firm will still be very active. Downey is currently confronting a future of AI on Broadway in a play of McNeil, which he takes on aim of a corporate giant of AI space, such as OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. He says, I don't envy anyone who has been over-identified with the advent of the new phase of information age. He says, the idea of someone belongs to me because of the super huge the super huge startups. Okay. Downey also told Swisher about the figures like Altman. The problem is when the individuals believe that they are arbitrary in managing this above. Meanwhile, they're waiting for more, needing to see in a favorable light. At the massive fucking error, he says. It turns me off and makes me not want to engage with this because I'm not being truthful. Downey is currently gearing up to return to Marvel, but he's also doing a human being on a digital replica of Tony Stark. He's actually not playing Tony Stark / Iron Man at all. Instead, he's taking on the role of villainous Doctor Doom starting on the Avengers. Here's the thing, right? Him talking about suing him, we talked about this in the past with AI, the way how fast it's going on, right? We watched those videos, just the still videos, right? Of like the Star Wars redneck and now the Harry Potter redneck. They made another one with the Marvel's stuff. People are taking like Joe Rogan or Joe Biden or Donald Trump, putting them in commercials, using their voices, synthesizing their voices. What's his name? I forget his name. The tech guy. Marcus, is that his name? Marcus Brown? Is that his name? I think that's his name. The tech guy that does all the tech reviews. Someone used his footage and his voice, or not his footage, but used his voice to pretend he was like reviewing an actual product. Okay. So it's getting out of hand real fast between digital AI, people using your digital AI. Look what they've done in Disney. Okay. With General Tarkov. Okay. That family didn't give permission and now they're suing Disney. Then we have Carrie Fisher, right? Replicating them. People like Mark Hamill and Harrison Ford basically signed their life and likeness away for that. But Robert Downey Jr. is like, if you use my likeness or AI, you're not using me, then you're going to get sued. And as the podcaster said, well, you'll be dead. And they're like, yeah, but my law firm will not, right? So his estate or his family or whatever, he'll probably put that in perpetuity, down the line. If anyone uses my likeness or logo, this is what you do. You sue. So it's very interesting to see what's going to happen in the future with AI, deep fake, the way it's ChatGPT, how people can mimic people's voices. All they need is 6 seconds. I'm screwed. At this point, guys, I'm screwed. People can replicate me, and maybe I'll sue. Maybe that'll be my future. Someone uses my voice, and then I sue them, and that's how I make it in the world. Okay? But that's just it. It's that simple now, and it's uncanny. You can't trust anything you see on the internet. It's almost like looking, as a Florida guy, anytime I look at a body of water, you just assume there's a gator in there, okay? The way I look at content now on the internet, if it's a video, if it's a picture, I just assume it's AI and then decide if it's actually real, okay? I never think it's real and then think it's AI, okay? I think it's AI first, not real, and then I go, oh, okay, it is real, okay? Look at a body of water, there's a gator in there. Until I get closer and go, okay, I don't really see any signs of a gator inside this water, okay? But that's my rule of thumb now with the internet. You can't trust anything. And look, I agree 100% with Robert Downey Jr. Any actor, any person, forget actor. If you're a public persona and you're being taken advantage of because of someone's using your likeness, your sound, anything, then you should 100% be able to sue them into the ground because that is against the law, right? You can't use me, you can't use him unless you're paying, right? If you want to pay these people to be in the commercial or whatnot, great. In a movie, great. But to just use the AI to make them because for whatever reason, no. That's not going to happen. I hope if Hollywood still stands, they push back on this about the AI stuff. But these are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comment section down below. Please make sure you share, like, subscribe. Let me know what you guys think in the live chat. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Brownlee, that's his name. Yeah. The guy does. He did a thing. He posted something. He's like, it's begun. He said, where someone showed like a wallet thing, like an IR wallet or something. It like protects your info, and it was his voice. It was his AI voice marketing the stuff. He's like, that's not me. Crowded said, I recently saw a commercial with Denzel Washington selling dick pills. So you didn't see Denzel Washington. You thought you saw Denzel Washington, but it was AI Washington. Tolkien is dead and the estate controls everything. Yes and no. They, if you your sons hated you, your grandsons hated you, or whatever, they could sell their pieces off. They're having problems right now. Hence why they gave. That's why Amazon has what they have. Right? They sold off bits and pieces. But you're right. That's what it should be. It should be where even the actor, I forget the guy's name that played General Tarkin. I said Tarkov before. Tarkov is a fucking but General Tarkin. General Tarkin, he, like, years later, it's a small English actor, you know what I mean? And the family found out about it later and said, wait a minute, we didn't give you permission to use this. So they're actually suing Disney. Which is really crazy. This day I said it could also Star Wars or have husbands killing wives, or who knows, could really fucking some people's lives up. There was actually a story. There was actually a story about that roadkill, where somebody pretended they did something, and they got put in prison. I could have sworn I heard about 8 months ago. So someone got framed because they were there, but it wasn't actually them. Kraken says, have you ever seen a modded GTA clip on the internet? People are on the comments completely believing it's real. Oh yeah, look, there's been footage on the news from GTA past, and everyone's like, oh my god, it's happening. It's like, that is a video game. They can't tell. Thank you, Vandal. Peter Cushing. Arga says there's a bunch of AI commercials for sleep mouth pieces on Instagram using Joe Rogan's likeness and voice. That's fucking... I hope they get sued into oblivion. Hope they get sued into oblivion. Yeah, that's it, Titan. Don't forget the AI company has trained AI using materials without permission. Oh, yeah. The whole internet. Every time you go in there and type in something and they feed information, so they're taking people's Picasso's pictures, throwing them into the AI to learn what Picasso's pictures are. So if you type in, draw me a picture of myself as Picasso, and then boom, it puts it in there. Yeah, you're training it willingly. Your phones do it, right? We talked about this in the past with the AI stuff. Everyone's feeding it. And I use the example of Tesla. If they had one car on the road mapping out LA, it would take forever. But if they give it to all the people, right? People buying the cars and they put it in your phones and people are walking around the city and stuff, you can map out a city within days. Here, let's look at here's where's the I gotta find this again. What was that guy's channel? It was Redneck. Yeah. So we have this guy's channel that we watched a couple weeks ago, right? And now there's new ones, right? There's 6 days ago. I'm not gonna play the music because they'll hit us. Okay, but this is Redneck Marvel. Okay, Redneck Marvel now. Okay, guess who that is? That's Captain America. Right? These are not real people. Okay, these are AI generated people. Okay, not real. But look how real he looks. Bro, that's scary. Oh, man. right? Like, that's not real. Okay? That is not a real person. Is that Thanos? That's Thanos. Right? This is fed into the system. Oh, look at that. Spider-Man. Oh, man. I'm assuming Black Widow. Okay. But do you see a problem here? Now, this is not a real person. Okay. But how easy would it be to take someone's face and put it on this person's body? Okay. Bro. That's Hawkeye. Right? And all they did was feed the information. Okay. Put it in. Say, make a redneck, blah, 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 with this person's face. Boom. Redneck Doctor Strange. I'll be honest, man. I would watch this. I would watch this home straight to home video. Yeah, but you say that AI likes posing like wax dolls, but you understand that, look how human... You understand that this is the worst it'll be, right? I can show you something from 6 months ago that's nowhere ever close to this. Every time you watch something like this is the worst it will be, because the next time you won't be able to tell. Yeah, fucking Iron Man. Is that Star-Lord? That's Star-Lord. Is that Gamora? Too good. It's too good. I'll tell you what, the AI is better than CGI. His arms are all messing up. Well, the whole point of this, love the Infinity Gauntlet. It's, what is that, bottle caps? Yeah, I'm ready to watch this Infinity Saga. The whole point, though, is that if someone posted this, right? Just imagine. You take a picture of this, you post it on Twitter and said, my son dressed up as Spider-Man. They'd be like, oh my God, that's such a good costume, right? Look, my husband painted himself blue and made himself Thanos. He'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe he painted himself blue. Oh my God, this guy is so good as Thor. He should have casted him as Thor, right? I don't know what's happening here. I don't know what's happening here. Purple, blue, whatever. The blue looks like 30 NSG. I could see that. Buff up a little bit. About 1/3 his size. About 1/3 his size. So look, as far as AI goes, like I said, body of water, alligator. Video, picture on the internet, it's fake. It's fake. I don't believe any of it. Okay? People don't know what's real. Don't know what's fake. And old people really don't understand what's real or fake. They're like, I can't believe that dog's on a bicycle balancing on a rope. That's amazing. You'd be like, where would they take the camera picture for that? Papa says 30. One of the biggest worries is people using your face for a P movie to create a scandal. AI can also be used to destroy people. Yeah, no, absolutely. Look, a knife is a knife. And you can use a knife in many good ways. But you can also use a knife to murder somebody. Okay? And there's good to bad to everything. Right? Cell phone, I can make calls and I can surf the web, but they can also use it to spy on you. Right? There's good and bad to everything. No, it is purple. I'm not colorblind, but I said blue. I'll put a 10-page essay on Twitter to apologize that I called purple blue. I'll blame it on my my monitor. All right. All right, before we watch SkillUp's hour-long thing here, I want to put it out here. I saw this last night, and when I was playing Call of Duty last night, if you missed it, I played another 3 hours or so of Call of Duty campaign last night. Enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. Okay. So we have a bunch of reviews. So I'm putting this in context here. Okay. So Dragon Age Veilguard reviews. Okay. We got But Why Though, 10 out of 10. Game Rant, 10 out of 10. Cinelinks, 10 out of 10. Checkpoint Gaming, 10 out of 10. Press Start, 10 out of 10. Rapper, 9.5 out of 10. Quest Daily, 9.5 out of 10. Giga, 9.3 out of 10. Game Pro, 9.2 out of 10. Game Hubs, 9 out of 10. Voxel, 9 out of 10. Just 9 out of 10s, 10 out of 10s. It's a 10, right? Like, everyone loves this game, right? IGN gave it a 9 out of 10. But IGN's tweet's a little weird, okay? And I'm putting this out here, okay? IGN's tweet's a little weird. Because giving a game a 9 out of 10, and I'm not giving any shit. The game could be a 10 out of 10, okay? Whatever. I don't care. I'm not interested in it. I'm not playing it, right? But I find it a little weird that they said, if we never get another Dragon Age again, at least it got to go out on a high note with Dragon Age, the Veilguard. Now, I get what they're saying, right? I get that they're saying, like, look, we had a blast with this game, and, you know, if they never make another Dragon Age again, at least we got this one. It's almost a perfect game, okay? But if it's a 9 out of 10 and everyone's saying 10 out of 10, why would you say it? Why would you say that? And maybe I'm looking too much into it, right? Maybe I'm thinking because it's going to get backlash because of stuff that's going on in the game, and they're saying, well, it's a perfect game, but because of what they did to this game, it's never going to be a good hit, right? You would think a game that's 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 is going to be a fantastic game. Word of mouth would spread. People would be like, yeah, this is a really good game, and people would go out and buy it, right? And the company, all they care about is sales, right? That's all they care about. They care about if they spent this amount of money and the budget's hit and it surpasses it, okay, then obviously they'll make a sequel, okay? I can't imagine a game that's perfect, according to all of these people, that it's going to fail, right, chat? It can't be a perfect game and fail. It's got to be a good game. Good games rise to the top, and people see it and play it, and they buy it down the road, and they're like, hey, you know what? People said it was good. All these reviewers said it was good. But then we have a review here, okay, from SkillUp, and the title of the goddamn thing is, I do not recommend. Now, I have not seen this. I have not watched this, okay, but I do not recommend. Now, we did watch his video 2 weeks ago, which wasn't SkillUp. It was Austin, his editor, okay, that reviewed it and played it early, gave us a very high review of it. He loved it, okay? And now we're getting SkillUp's thoughts on the actual game, okay? So let's watch this and give you his thoughts here, okay? Let's now I want to put it out there, okay? We are watching his video, and I'm going to comment and react to his video, not to other things that are going on, to his video, okay? Let's start. I think this is where it starts right here. Let me back up just a little bit.
Okay? I encourage you to seek them out. This is my opinion.
Oh, we'll just...
This video is brought to you by Brilliant. Pick up a new skill or just learn more about things like science, math, engineering, computer science, and so much more thanks to Brilliant's accessible and interactive courses. Try everything Brilliant has to offer for free for 30 days and get 20% off an annual subscription by visiting brilliant.org/skillup. Click the link below to get started or stick around to the end of the video to learn more. I want to begin this review the same way I did my Final Fantasy 16 review, which is to say that reviews are opinions. This is my opinion and my opinion only.
Well, of course. We even watch Alana Pierce. She talked about that some dude's fucking... wait, what'd she say? She said, some fucking dude's opinion, right? I'm just some fucking dude, right? Someone's fucking dude's opinion on the internet. And obviously take your opinion, go watch someone to... Instead of broadening your base and watching someone you don't like and someone you do like, just watch the people and stay in your echo chamber so you see none of the problems, right?
I expect that there will be a broad range of opinions on Dragon Age the Veilguard, and I encourage you to seek them out. I do not have a monopoly on...
Eclipse, thank you very much for continued support, man. I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Gotta give a round of applause.
Truth, as I've said many times before, I'm just a nerd with a microphone and a YouTube account.
A nerd with the microphone. Wait, what am I?
My opinion is no more or less valuable than anybody else's. Okay? Alright, so Dragon Age the Veilguard is a colossal disappointment. I really can't
Colossal.
put it any other way. I spent 50 hours playing this, and it was time
You spent 50 hours. Well, maybe it gets good at like 70. Huh? Anyone think about that?
desperately wish that I could get back. I started having my doubts at around the 10-hour mark. I was thoroughly checked out at the 20-hour mark, and the remaining 30 hours were just excruciatingly...
See, that's gotta suck, right? This is why I don't review games, right? Because I don't want to play a game, and like, he said he checked out at 10, right? Wait, did he say he checked out at 10?
desperately wish that I could get back.
Hold on.
I started having my doubts at around the 10-hour mark.
Doubts at 10.
I was thoroughly checked out at the 20-hour mark.
30-hour or 20-hour mark checked out completely.
And the remaining 30 hours were just...
You had to put another 30 hours in, right? This is why I don't review games. Because if I don't like a game, I'm just going to put it down and walk away.
excruciatingly painful as I was forced to suffer through the endless morass of banality that is Dragon Age the Veilguard. In many ways, Veilguard is a bigger disappointment than Anthem was. Like, if I was to hand LeBron a tennis racket, I'd expect to see some pretty shitty tennis. BioWare never had any business making a looter shooter, and so when Anthem flopped, its failure was easily explained, easily reconciled. But if I hand LeBron a basketball, I expect to see some fucking points on the board, and it's impossible to imagine a bigger home court advantage than this for BioWare. The Dragon Age franchise, one of their most beloved and most successful, no pressure from EA to cram in all sorts of live service bullshit like it was meant to have at one point.
It did. It did have all microtransactions. It was trying to do exactly what Anthem did. My criticism of this game before it came out, before any of this, before the reviews, before all the stuff, was the development process. The development process, it's been in development for so long, okay? They developed it for 4 years, but it's been basically worked on for 9 years, okay? And they switched it a couple times, right? So this is my problem with this game, that I believe what they built it on originally and what they finished with are two completely different games, and they still have stuff baked into it.
But they pivoted away from that years ago. There's no in-game cash shop here. There was obviously plenty of development time and budget. There was the freedom for BioWare to make a BioWare-ass BioWare game without any compromises and without any excuses. In no way, shape, or form did BioWare meet the moment and capitalize on the opportunity that was handed to them. Dragon Age the Veilguard apes the most superficial elements of a BioWare game, making no effort to modernize what is a now fairly dated formula, while delivering absolutely none of the writing,
I think they did modernize it, just in a different way.
characterization, and imagination that made its previous games so great. The writing is frankly terminal. It lacks any nuance or wit or wisdom. It cannot communicate ideas except to say them aloud to the camera. It manufactures petty, unbelievable tension because it doesn't know how to create anything more real, and it's too scared to ever be truly confronting or dark for fear that it might make the audience uncomfortable. Every interaction between the companions feels like HR is in the room, and every interaction led by...
So what he's saying is basically the dialogue feels like downed. You know what I mean? Like it's kidified because HR is in the room. Don't want to say the wrong things in a fantasy world of adults.
The main character, Rook, sounds like he's addressing an under-12 soccer team before a semi-final, or teaching toddlers how to properly share toys. The way you build relationships...
Yeah, that's exactly what he's saying, right? So basically you're talking down, you're not letting the adults that are playing the game be adults in a mature game, right? You're making it more appealing for the broader audience and then really not hitting an audience at all.
Relationships with your companions is so woefully outdated. Drawn out quest lines completely divorced from the main plot, starring disposable villains and recycling the same settings, enemies, and bosses you find elsewhere. The romance system feels equally antiquated, heavily reliant on the "will bang okay" button, even when it doesn't make sense for that to be an option.
Will bang button.
With no supporting systems behind it to make your romance decisions feel believable or consequential. The world design is so weird. I have never encountered worlds quite like this. They feel more like Overwatch maps than actual explorable spaces, and they're littered with puzzles so mind-numbingly stupid that I wonder how little BioWare must think of our ability to solve puzzles. And
Well, if he's saying that the puzzles are simple, I mean, basically the developers already think that you're a child, right? So they're not going to give you difficult puzzles. So they're going to make the dialogue basic. They're going to make the puzzle solving basic. So, but it's all in the game, right? There's stuff there for you to do.
combat is like, man.
No, I believe it's M for mature, Jones, if I'm not mistaken.
Shallow is...
So, someone look it up real fast. I don't know. I'm not going to look it up here, but I'm pretty sure it's mature.
Too kind of word. The lack of enemy variety, the sponginess of those enemies, how limited your control over party members is, it all makes combat so utterly mindless and so breathtakingly repetitive. Let me put it this way. I spoke...
Now, hold on a second. What did he say there?
Man, shallow is too kind of word. The lack of enemy variety, the sponginess of those enemies, how limited your control over party members is, it all makes combat so utterly mindless and so breathtakingly repetitive. Let me put it this way. I spoke to 2 other reviewers.
If we go back and watch when they first showed the game, and I said, man, it looks button spammy. I said, it looks very boring. It doesn't look like there's any style whatsoever with the actual combat.
Who both ended up lowering the difficulty to the easiest setting, not because it was hard, but because it was just so drawn out and so boring. I've never done that before for any game that I've reviewed.
He lowered the difficulty because it was just taking too long to kill people. Interesting.
But I did it at the 40-hour mark here, and I swear to God, I wish I did it 20 hours earlier. I know how brutal all of this sounds, and I want to be super clear that I desperately wanted it to be different. I really did. I am aware of the stakes surrounding this game and what it means for BioWare's future, and I was praying so hard that BioWare's next game would be a fucking banger, and that the future of the studio would be secure.
I love that he made his character look like himself.
And that we'd all be looking for
more masculine.
to a Mass Effect game. But
nobody can... If someone uses this footage, you'll know it's SkillUp's footage.
I cannot say any of those things because the aesthetic. Characters do not look like real people. They look like Pixar or DreamWorks characters.
Yeah.
You think
Which is one of the big reasons I think a lot of people are pushing back on the game. It's that it looks like, we've said it looked like Fortnite, but then I kind of changed it. It looks like Unreal. Like an Unreal Engine. It looks like Dauntless. It looks like Fortnite. It looks very cartoony.
I'm exaggerating? This is Prince Charming from Shrek. Are you going to tell me this man wouldn't slot right into the Veilguard aesthetic? Man, you could drop him in right now as a companion character and no one would bat an eyelid. It's obviously a choice that BioWare made. You don't accidentally end up with characters that look like this. On one hand, I respect it because they really swung for something different here. Absolutely. On the other hand, I really dislike how these characters look. I just don't like.
So he gives him an effort He gives him an A for effort for trying to make something different, but hates the way it looks. That's understandable.
Like it. And I think it's a massive downgrade versus what this series has previously offered. Like, this is the new Morrigan, for example. If you've never played Dragon Age before, then this might not mean anything to you, but if you have played it, then this rendition is gonna look pretty weird. There are other returning characters making cameos in this game, stuff BioWare has asked us not to spoil, so I can't show it to you, but putting the new models side by side with the old models, it's pretty crazy to see how much worse they look here in Veilguard. Nothing compares, though, to what they did to the Qunari. Like,
the Qunari has looked completely different in every single game. The first game, they looked human. Then they looked badass. And then they look like this.
holy hell, I have no idea what they were thinking. This is how they used to look.
Yeah, but that's not the way they looked. They used to look human. But that was because of a graphical thing. That's because of the graphics and the technology back then. And then they made this, and that was really cool. They looked completely different, right? This was a cool-looking character. But now they look like humans with horns.
Truly badass and intimidating. And this is how they look in Veilguard. I mean, how on earth could BioWare have landed on these designs and thought, yep, that's it, ship it? The Qunari redesign looks comically bad. And it's also kind of lazy because now instead of looking like a truly distinct race with a different facial structure, the Qunari now just look like humans with horns. It really sucks. These character designs are distracting and they weaken the game's ability to deliver emotional moments. I don't think your characters need to look realistic for you to have a strong connection to them.
True.
There are millions of games that disprove that point. But this uncanny valley thing, this half human, half cartoon thing, it catches on the eye the same way an off note catches on the ear. It's hard not to be distracted.
Oh, that's a good example. I like how he said that, right? When you notice something, it's off catching to your eye, as if you hear something like a bad note, you're like, ooh, what was that? That's a great example of when you look at certain things, right? We talked about this in the past without movies, television shows, and like the edits and stuff like that, right? A good edit you'll never see. You just watch the movie and you really don't nitpick stuff until later when you think about it. But when you're watching the film, it's like flawless. But a bad edit, you'll know everything. You'll be like, oh, what was that? Like, you just noticed something. Like, you don't realize it at that moment, but something was a bad edit. Jump cut, something along the lines, and all of a sudden you're like, it pulls you out of that moment. You're like focused in on something, and then all of a sudden you're not.
Distracted by just how odd everyone looks. And in the more tense, emotional scenes, I found that their fake plastic faces made it harder for me to buy into whatever emotional distress they were selling. This is further compounded by BioWare's approach to facial animations, which is extremely outdated in 2024, especially for a game where you spend so...
To be honest, though, these are better facial animations than what Starfield's using, right?
much time looking at characters' faces. Like, take this example when my character is angrily trying to convince the Grey Wardens to act.
We don't have time to play Who's the Greyest Warden. You need to shut up and listen. The threat is real. The gods are coming, and they're bringing the blight with them.
Or this clip when Rook is dressing down the team after a setback.
Last I checked, there are 2 gods out there. They've got plans, and we're falling behind. And if it wasn't clear enough after Demeter's crossing...
Yeah, I can see that the facial animations, like if I'm saying this, right, there's a difference between me being like, hey, how are you? And, hey, how are you? You know what I mean? Like the facial animations and same expressions, it doesn't come across of what they're saying, the way they're speaking and the way they're referring to the rest of the table. And yet he's just like, and it was clear enough to me in the crossing, it's clear now. It's like,
it's clear now. They'll rain disease and death across Thedas unless we stop them.
In both instances, you really can't see the emotion that the voice actor
there's no emotion
is
on the faces.
delivering. Compare those to this outburst from Cassandra 9 years ago in Dragon Age Inquisition.
Then we looked for Hawk, but he was gone too. We thought it all connected, but no. It was just you. You kept him from us.
Now,
she looks disgusted, right? The way she's talking, she looks disgusted with the person. You kept him away from us.
look, for my money, Cassandra's face here looks angry and expressive.
Right.
I'm not only hearing her rage, but I am seeing it too. And Veilguard never manages to make these two things line up. Setting aside the more contemporary comparisons you could make to stuff like Baldur's Gate 3 or Cyberpunk or Guardians of the Galaxy, BioWare was doing faces and facial animations better.
Well, maybe they didn't want to make anyone look ugly. Maybe they didn't want to make the facial expressions. Oh no, we don't want to offend anybody because God forbid someone gets offended or angered by something of emotion.
Nearly a decade ago, and that sadly is commentary that could be extended to almost every aspect of Dragon Age the Veilguard. The one exception to this, I think, is the visual design of environments, which are regularly stunning. I don't like how these spaces are laid out or what you do in them, but they do look really nice. There's a range of settings from cityscapes to forests to darkened swamps to old hollowed out Grey Warden fortresses, and they all look great in their own way. They each feel visually cohesive with unique architectural styles and color palettes that create a very strong sense of space and place. As I said, I never
Yeah, the environments look great. They do. It looks good.
enjoyed being in these environments, but I did enjoy looking at them. I will also say that Veilguard runs extraordinarily well on a high-end PC, which doesn't always
That's
happen all the
good.
time, by the way.
Runs
right?
well.
I played this at 4K ultra setting.
Hey, look. If the game comes out and not everyone likes it, okay, maybe they don't like the story, maybe they don't like the gameplay, maybe they don't like the graphics, okay? But if the game comes out and it's not broke, buggy, and unfinished, I mean, that's a win. That's a win.
Ray tracing enabled, and even without DLSS frame generation, I was still able to hit over 100 frames per second very easily, with lower settings, with lower resolution.
Did you know there's still problems in Anthem that they still haven't fixed? And they will never fix, right? There's still problems in Anthem.
With ray tracing off and with frame generation as an option, I think there's a huge amount of headroom for this game to run really well on lower end PCs, but I haven't personally tested that, and I also couldn't test console performance. I also do note that this game is on Steam day one instead of just being on the EA launcher, which is fantastic. It's also Steam Deck verified, which is great. Most impressive of all, it's DRM free, which is a boon for not only performance, but also for game preservation. I really applaud EA for making these moves, and hopefully it's something that they'll continue to do.
EA's putting their games out on Steam day one. Oh, they're trying to market this as best as they can and try to make the money as best as they can, because they know if they don't make the sales day one, it's over. They know if they don't make the sales day one with all the advertisement that they're doing on this thing, they're done.
Do in their future releases. The bottom line, when it comes to visuals and performance, Dragon Age the Veilguard is yet another reminder of how much more important art direction is over technical wizardry. Yes, the environments look really nice and the game runs well, but the main deliverable of a BioWare experience is a compelling saga starring a cast of characters who feel believable. The weird, stylized, waxy way these characters look is off-putting, and when combined with how stiff and unresponsive their faces are, Veilguard has immediately hamstrung itself in its ability to deliver on the promise of a BioWare game. A promise that is then thoroughly broken when we start looking at the writing underpinning all of this.
I wield the power of the blight. People are dying right now. You need to listen. My cousin is still alive. And you didn't need to tell me. Bring that first one down!
Okay, so we're going to talk about the writing of this game now, and in so doing, I'm going to spoil some minor things. No major events.
Spoiler warning. We're not skipping. We're not skipping. So if you don't want to be spoiled, come back later.
Or reveals, but some little stuff, so if you're sensitive to that, then you can skip ahead to the timestamp on screen. I'll give you a minute to do that now. Okay, here we go. Dragon Age games have, generally speaking, been pretty dark. I mean, the first game opens with a ritual where you drink demon blood to join a sacred order, and one of the other guys doesn't survive that ritual. He just kind of dies right there on the spot, and then another guy freaks out and he's like, no, please don't make me do that. And then Duncan, who's conducting the ritual, knows that there's no way to back out of this ceremony, so he murders that dude in cold blood before whispering in his ear,
I am sorry.
They ain't happening now. Could offend somebody. Someone could be appalled by this. Oh God! Can't have good story writing.
Now, if that moment is like an 8 out of 10 in terms of how dark you might expect your fantasy to be, Dragon Age the Veilguard never gets above like a 2 or a 3 out of 10. It was genuinely shocking.
They're like, oh, I got a cut on my elbow. I got a cut on my elbow. Oh, are you okay? Let me heal that for you.
To me to see just how safe and cheery and bright and G-rated this whole thing was. Like, genuinely shocked, because there are precisely 0 moments where something happens that made me go, oh shit, alright, now we're talking. I used the word banality in my intro, and one of the biggest reasons this game feels so banal is because when you eventually realize that nothing bad is ever going to happen, you stop hoping for something interesting or surprising to happen. You just surrender yourself to the endless stream of predictable, inoffensive fantasy tropes. In place of more serious, more dark events and characters is the embrace of a more playful, silly tone. It's about keeping it light, like Balara here talking about the fact that 2 elven gods are now out to destroy the world.
Oh, you know, just finding out that 3 of my gods are out there trying to end the world. Why wouldn't I be okay?
Emmerich is a necromancer, and I know that sounds a little scary.
Looks like Dr.
Raising
Strange.
the dead and commanding them as your minions, but don't worry, BioWare is not going to let you get freaked out by all that scary death stuff. Emmerich happens to be a lovely old gentleman. He is dapper, he is proper, he delights in pleasantries, and he has a servant, a lovable skeleton named Manfred, who happily dotes on Emmerich and screeches with glee whenever he's mentioned. He's not the only companion with a pet though. Davram also has a baby griffin named Asan, and he can be a little rowdy sometimes, like here when Manfred and Asan are squabbling over something.
Okay, that's enough. Quiet now. Fine. Who wants a treat?
Now look, I know that you could go back to previous Dragon Age games and pull the same clips that show the same lighthearted silliness. Lighthearted fun and humor has always been a part of every great BioWare game. But what I'm trying to communicate here is that there's a lot more of these moments in Veilguard, but more importantly, there's a complete absence of anything dark to counterbalance them. As such, the overall tone of this game is silly and juvenile. Its unwillingness to confront darker themes.
That's what I'm looking for in a video game. I mean, look, I'm not interested. When they first showed it, I am not interested in this game. And the reason I'm not interested in this game was before I even looked at it, I said, I'm not buying a game because of all the problems they had behind the scenes. Game can come out flawless. I'm not interested in it.
Also extends to a total unwillingness to create any meaningful conflict between companions. Conflict between companions is a really important part of these sorts of cinematic RPGs. It not only creates narrative tension, but also forces important gameplay decisions, like who do you side with in a real moment of truth situation, right? Dragon Age the Veilguard has none of that. 0. Companions never have prolonged, substantive disagreements about anything. They just get along. Almost all the time. And when they
one of my reasons Mass Effect 2 is one of my favorite games of all time is because and also you know, the Star Wars BioWare games as well, is that they're so good at what you choose to make it feel, you know what I mean? It's not cookie cutter. It's not just you pick and then this is what the outcome is. Like, you pick and there's consequences to your actions in these types of games. And that's why to this day, Mass Effect 2, to me, is one of the best games ever created by BioWare because of the choices you have. That you could be a complete an asshole and a dick to somebody and then be nice to them because you can choose, and there's actual outcomes to this. BioWare has missed this. Now, I did watch Paul Tassie's review yesterday, and he talked about that there's no bad choice. There is no choice to be bad. It's just good. And that, to me, is a huge flag when it comes to BioWare games, because that's not BioWare. BioWare games are supposed to be where you have choice and you make the choices, right? People are more interested so you could make custom characters. I'm more interested in that when I choose something in the story, it actually changes the story.
When they do express some sort of disagreement about something, it is so lukewarm and then resolved so quickly that the whole thing feels entirely cosmetic. Like, during a mission, Lucanus makes a mistake and Davram calls him out on it very briefly. And I was like, oh, okay, maybe this is the start of the first inter-team conflict. Nope. Like, an hour later, the very next conversation that we all had together is this.
You two done fighting then? I can't have you at each other's throats.
Lucanus is still an assassin. Kills people for money.
And Davrin's still self-righteous. Judgmental, too. Typical warden. No offense.
Oh my god, dude. It's like, kumbaya. It's like, There's no emotion. There's no, like, anger. They're just like, it's all right, buddy. I forgive you. We'll just hash it out later. My apologies if I offended you. Come on, bro.
If we let that get in the way of stopping the gods,
We won't. We cannot.
They were never at each other's throats, by the way. They literally had one perfectly civil conversation where no one even raised their voice, and now they've, patched it up. However, BioWare clearly want to create some semblance of conflict between team members, so they instead focus on petty squabbles. Like here, Emmerich wants to bring too many books to a camping trip that Harding is planning, and Harding is upset about that. Just watch the clip.
Harding, does it really matter if Emmerich brings 8 books?
9, actually.
And Emmerich? So what if Harding is fine sleeping on dirt?
Not all the time.
This is the sort of conflict.
What is happening right now? What is happening right now? They're arguing about books, but it's not even an argument. It is a squabble.
That Veilguard is constantly generating between team members, just arguing about utter nonsense. And did you see how Rook needed to sort it out at the end? He talks to them like they're children. Like, here's another example of him
Give him back his books. Be nice to him.
sorting out a disagreement between Tash and Emmerich when they're arguing about the fact that Tash doesn't like necromancy.
You two could still learn things together you'd never find out alone. Emmerich, you clearly find talking about dragons boring.
What? How? Who doesn't like dragons?
Aren't you curious why Tash likes them as much as...
Oh my god, dude. I can't. If I was interested in this game, this would sell me to not purchase it. Okay? This is not BioWare. This is not BioWare. This is something like Mr. Rogers would tell you. All right, little Timmy. Make sure you give back Susie her book. Okay? How would you know? Can't be mad at Susie. Susie didn't know you were done reading. It's like, what is happening right now?
Does you like necromancy?
The question crossed my mind.
And maybe Emmerich could help demystify...
Maybe you guys should hold hands. Let's hold hands. And let's say what we're thankful for. Is this fantasy? I want to slaughter dragons. I want to, like, go on an adventure.
magic, Tash.
See what I mean? That is not how you speak to adults. That is how you speak to a toddler when you are teaching them to share their Optimus Prime toy with their little brother. It speaks to a broader problem, that being a lack of subtlety and wisdom in the writing. This game cannot surface any ideas without just saying them aloud, which leads to this endless stream of exposition-laden personal introspection monologues. Like when Harding tells us that she's a bit of a people pleaser.
She hates it.
No, I don't hate it. It's really nice. Temperature.
I won't be upset if you don't
I feel like I'm watching an episode of Friends. And I like Friends, by the way.
like coffee.
He really wouldn't.
I know, but sorry. It's just this thing I do sometimes.
Acting so people will like you?
It sounds terrible when you say it like that. I know I don't need to do it. I just do.
Or here, when Nev opens up about the fact that she really just wants to prove that she can be relied on.
You can't count on a lot here. When I started, I wasn't going to save Minrathus, never mind Thedas. But if I could take a job and follow through, well...
That's what I'm talking about, though, Jones. There's actual difference in those games. You could be nice and you could be an asshole, right? There's actual choice. This doesn't seem like there's choice. It seems like no matter what you do, it gets to that same point, and you're always nice about it.
Maybe people could count on me.
These clips alone aren't enough to convince you of what I'm saying, but I promise you that every emotional exchange has this sort of stuff in it. Rather than letting these sorts of character traits or insecurities surface through action or through the intuition of others, these characters just blurt them out all the time. There's nothing to read into or imagine about these characters because they simply tell you everything about themselves with this point-blank dialogue. And the way this dialogue is delivered makes this all the more painful because BioWare can't surface any of it in the main questline. All of it happens in chats at the home base or during companion missions. And this is where we start crossing over into criticisms of the game's structure, but Dragon Age the Veilguard feels extremely outdated because of its inability to unify its companion stories with the main story. This is sort of how old BioWare games were. You would pursue companion storylines that were quite separate from the main storyline, but we've come a long way since then, and multiple games, most notably Baldur's Gate 3, have shown us that you can walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. You can deepen your connection to your companions both in and out of the main questline. Companion questlines are more deeply interwoven into that main questline. It doesn't.
People don't understand that, though. What he's saying right now, the broader audience doesn't understand what makes a good thing. They just think people speaking words is good enough, right? They don't understand like the context and the meanings behind certain things.
Doesn't feel like you're making these hard switches from save the world mode to go and pick flowers with your buddy mode. There certainly is some of that in those other games, don't get me wrong, but the overall calibration and pacing of it feels more integrated and more seamless. Not so here in Veilguard. When you're doing the main questline, there are precious few moments when you also happen to be progressing a companion storyline. That all happens in companion quests, which are each their own totally disconnected storyline, starring their own generic villain of the day style antagonist. And these quests are all meted out to you at the same time, meaning that you complete a major milestone in the main quest line, and that immediately unlocks like 6 or 7 companion missions, and if you're going to stay on top of them, you're just doing them one after the other. The main storyline is completely on hold in that moment. This is at its worst at the end of the game, where there's a literal 10-hour stretch where all you are doing is companion quests, because it's your last chance to do them. And
that is bad design. So... we've talked about this in the past with other games, right? Like, what was the last game we played where... Oh, we played Suicide Squad. People would literally just do a mission, and then they would go do all the other stuff, and they get tired of doing the exact same thing over and over. But when I played, we played the mission, did a side quest, went back to the main mission, and it was like the pacing, but we chose to do that. What it sounds like he's saying is that if you do the main quest, then you have a whole bunch of side quests left over. Now, it's a side quest. You don't have to do the side quest, but if you want to progress certain things in the game, then you have to do the side quest. But then if you leave it to the end, by the time you get to the end, it's one of those games that says, are you sure you want to do this? Because once you do this, then you won't be able to go back. And you're like, yeah, I don't want to do that. So then you have to go back and then just do all the side missions over and over and over and over and over. Even Starfield, right? We would go do a main mission and then go do a side quest mission. And then we would go back to, and then so on and so forth. Where if you just did the main mission, you're like, oh, it gets boring and monotonous and it's just not good.
The game doesn't let you finish these storylines any earlier, so you're just doing them one after the other. And look, I know that's very common for these sorts of games, and if these storylines were good, I probably wouldn't mind all that much, but they are not good. They are boring, and they are badly written, and they see you exploring all of the same locations you've already been to, fighting enemies and bosses you've already fought dozens of times before. It's a major shortcoming of this game. There is absolutely zero variety in mission design. It's all either walking behind you.
Is there more mission variety in Marvel's Avengers?
Companion while they talk, or killing enemies. There's no like necromancy mission that sees you commanding an army of skeletons. No stealth mission with Lucanus to sneakily assassinate a target. You don't ever officiate over a joining ceremony with Davram and have to choose whether or not to execute a recruit who tries to flee. It's just lighting candles while someone talks, or fighting, and 80% of the time it's just fighting. So all of this was a point about writing and how the structure of the game puts the main storyline on hold for huge stretches because the companion quest lines are not integrated into the main quest line, and that feels really outdated and results in some really poor pacing. And that's an example of the writing being hamstrung by the game's structure, but it also cuts a different way, which is that the structure often dictates the writing. There's multiple moments throughout the main campaign where the writing is saying aloud, you are playing a BioWare game. Time to do some BioWare things. Like in this exchange when the team has just suffered a major setback and they're discussing why they weren't successful. Here's what they came up with.
I think we've all been distracted.
I've been preoccupied myself after discovering that hand of glory.
And I can't stop worrying about my new magic and what it means.
Bro.
The Nodists are fallen? What it means for my people?
Until those problems are resolved, we will not be prepared to face the gods.
It's like, bro, they are literally just listing side quests at this point and being like, if we don't solve these problems, we're not going to be at our A game. Like, does that really need to be said aloud? But it's something that they say again later on in a separate meeting.
Our arguments, our personal problems, it's as Emmerich says. They hold us back.
We won't stop the gods while other worries weigh us down.
I'm pleased my words provided clarity on how we all felt.
Like, come on, for real, what is this? We already know we are playing a BioWare game. We don't need to be told to do companion quests. Like, how did this make it into the script? I really wish I could tell you that the main plot delivered where all this companion stuff fails, but it absolutely does not. This game used to be called Dragon Age Dreadwolf, and it was called that because the antagonist was Solus,
right,
the elven god who you fought alongside during Dragon Age Inquisition. And what a brilliant idea for an antagonist, someone who you know intimately if you'd played the previous game. Solus as a character is also fantastic. He is deep and complex and nuanced, and as a villain, he is a rich well from which a writer could draw. Solus is an antagonist in this game, absolutely. But he plays a distant second fiddle to two other antagonists, a pair of totally generic, one-dimensional, unknowable, and uninteresting elven gods. They are just straight-up mustache-twirling evil. There is nothing to them at all, and the main storyline is just about like chasing leads to find them and, you know, stopping them from crafting some MacGuffin, honestly. Now, Solus still does have a part in this game, which I won't spoil, and interactions with him are a high point, but he plays a far less central role than he could have played, and it's such a wasted opportunity to see him sidelined in favor of two villains who could not be less interesting or more generic. Tonally, Dragon Age the Veilguard is silly and childish. It lacks any real tension. Dialogue feels
That's a shame. That's a shame. Especially, and I think I said it a little bit yesterday, if this was just called, it's a brand new IP and it was called The Veilguard. Brand new game, not linked to the other past games, I think it would be completely in a different light. Okay? But you're taking the fourth game, right? The fourth version of this game in the series, and you completely changed it and completely changed the structure of what the game is and how your choices are, and you made it kidified. And the reason the people like Dragon Age, because it was more of an adult game, okay? And now you've just shit all over that to make it where, oh, I don't want to hurt your feelings, let's talk about it.
Inauthentic, more complex themes and character motivations are clumsily surfaced, the stories it wishes to tell are undermined by the game's outdated structure, and the overt references to the game's structure in the writing sound ridiculous. The main storyline is a huge disappointment owing to a lack of interesting missions and worthwhile antagonists. It's just a top-to-bottom disappointment. BioWare games live and die by their writing, and Dragon Age the Veilguard absolutely dies by it, and we have not yet even covered how little actual choice this game affords you, and that is equally disappointing.
Careful of him.
We are halfway through, folks.
I want to talk to him.
You and me, Rook. We chase trouble.
I'm here because you didn't listen.
Whatever's out there, we'll face it together, I promise. Together.
The promise of a BioWare game has always been a story that you can tangibly shape. BioWare has had mixed levels of success with this goal over the years, but it's remained a guiding star for them, and for all the games in this genre that sought to copy the template that BioWare initially laid down with this cinematic-style, narrative-led RPG. Dragon Age the Veilguard marks a low point in BioWare's pursuit of this goal, so much so that I really wonder if this is what they were intending all along, or if maybe like they had other ambitions, but they ran out of time and they just couldn't make them happen. I just refuse to believe that what we got here in Veilguard could have been BioWare's actual intention from the start. Fundamentally, the promise of choice exists at both the macro and micro level. In the past, BioWare games have not only let you select your hairstyle, but also, through dialogue options, shape your personality. Are you a nice guy, a jester, an asshole, or does your mood change depending on who you're speaking to? Do you make cold, calculated calls that prioritize the mission, or are you more empathetic, putting the needs of your team first? How people and the world...
I love the choices that you made in Mass Effect. That's what made that game so good. Like, I literally slaughtered all my whole crew because of the choice I made. It was devastating.
World at large react to those decisions shapes your journey. Maybe a member of the team really hates your guts and has no time for your bullshit. Maybe another loves you so much that they swoon when you so much as glance their way. Maybe a certain faction declares you a blood enemy for making a decision that disadvantages them, while another will have your back no matter what because you were there for them when it counted. Almost everything that I've described here is either absent in Veilguard, or it's so surface level that the decisions feel entirely cosmetic. The biggest gap for me personally is the
Right, because it's not really there. It's just there to make you feel like it's there, but it's actually not there. There's no actual choice. It's just things that you pick, but you're going to get to the same destination regardless.
ability to truly shape a rook, a main character that reflects who I want to be. I always choose the bad guy personality type in BioWare games because generally speaking, renegades have more fun.
Say goodnight, Manuel.
The darkness is coming. The end is near. You can't.
There is no...
That's right. Just punch him. Just punch him.
Bad guy option here in Veilguard. There's only nice guy, there's nice guy who's a little bit more jokey, and nice guy who's like ever so slightly more stern. That's literally it. Those are your only 3 options. Sometimes there's an additional option.
Yeah, see, that's not a BioWare game. That's not a BioWare game. If you have no choice where you can be an asshole, you can be nice, you can be neutral, that's not a BioWare game. This is BioWare by name. This is Dragon Age by name. This is no longer BioWare. This is no longer Dragon Age.
That's meant to be like the angry option. But what the game does, and this drove me fucking nuts, is it takes the edge off the dialogue option you've selected to make it something more friendly. Like this clip when some asshole bureaucrat barges into the conversation making demands, and I want to say, who is this fool? Because that would be an antagonistic thing to say that might result.
Right. Be like, who is this fool? Right.
Result in some conflict. Instead, here's what Rook actually ends up saying.
Who is this?
Oh, for God's sakes. Like, who is this fool? Right? He's like, who's this? I'm sorry, what? Pardon me?
This is Governor Evenchi. They have concerns.
Or this example, when I'm trying to get the head of the Grey Wardens to listen to me, and I...
Just listen, you idiot! That's how I would say it. Right? Hey, just listen, you idiot. Let's see how he says it.
I just reached my wit's end.
Are you kidding me?
I assure you,
oh,
I
boy.
am deadly serious.
That is not what I wanted to say.
Yeah.
I wanted to call him an idiot, but I can't do that because Rook is incapable of saying anything that might offend or upset anyone. And this is very much the case with his team too. With the exception of one pivotal decision point, Rook cannot upset his team members in any meaningful way. In so many BioWare games and games like it, you could say some mean shit that would really piss off your companions, but here all you can do is offer support. Sometimes in a friendly way, other times in a slightly more stern way, but never can you say anything that might actually upset.
You don't want to upset the NPC or anybody in the game. You got feels.
Upset them. But that's not to say that you can't say things that your teammates won't mildly disapprove of, and you will on occasion see like Nev disapproves pop up on the left, but there's no way to do that so severely or so often that you would start to develop a negative relationship with your companion. There is a really interesting companion system kind of working away in the...
After experience a blighted dragon attack, okay, Nev is less trusting and more self-reliant. Her damage abilities are increased, but she will no longer use supportive abilities and relationship progress is slowed. Well, if it's anything like Sarah from Starfield, I'm okay with that.
The back end called Harden.
Jesus, she's an asshole. Hated it and loved it all at the same time. I was like, man, she's a bitch.
Where a companion apparently disapproves of you so much that their offensive damage abilities are made stronger, but they won't cast any supporting abilities, and your relationship progress with them is also slowed. I could only achieve this state with one companion, Nev, after making that pivotal decision I mentioned earlier. Outside of that, I almost always chose the gruffest dialogue option available to me, and I was never able to trigger this hardened state with any other companion. Oh, and by the way, I never felt the impact of Nev's new damage potential during combat, and I had absolutely no trouble romancing Nev even after she was hardened, so I think the system isn't quite as impactful as it promises to be. The same way that the game is unwilling to confront any darker themes. The same way the game is unwilling to...
It looks like his character is getting chunkier. Like he's getting fatter as the game goes on. What do they have? San Andreas food effects in here? What's happening to his character?
Create any genuine conflict between party members, is also unwilling to create genuine tension between you and your party members. So remember how in most BioWare games you could talk yourself out of trouble if you said the right things, made the right threats, if you put the work in to ingratiate yourself to a faction, if you have the right party members.
It's the greatest part of the game, man. call someone's bullshit out.
By his side at a crucial moment. We used to have stats for charisma and speechcraft that would make it easier whether we're trying to persuade or intimidate or deceive. Veilguard has none of those things. You cannot talk your way in or out of any situation. There are no stat checks that will test your powers of persuasion or whatever. Every outcome is ultimately determined by force because there is no scope for you to determine it by any other means. This was really typified in this mission, which seemed like it was going to be a real standout. This is towards the back end of the game, and we have to infiltrate a meeting of cultists, and we're supposed to be undercover. To this point, there had never ever been any mission like this. As I said earlier, every mission is just following someone, going to a place, killing enemies, and so the promise of like a stealthy undercover mission was really exciting. Guys, I was desperate for just something else. So how does this actually play out? Well, firstly, we're undercover, but we leave our faces uncovered while we walk around this encampment, and
we're undercover. They'll never know who you are. Everyone's wearing a mask.
Basically the only people not wearing a hood, and we've been fighting this faction for the last 30 hours, so you'd expect they'd know our faces by now, but anyway. Eventually we come to a dude and he's blocking the way, and I expect this might be a moment where I have to smooth talk him, and if I say the wrong thing, maybe the jig is up and it's time to fight. But nope, here's what actually happens.
Stop. Who are you? I don't recognize any of you.
Bro, come on. They're the only 3 people not wearing a mask.
You don't recognize me?
I don't. Magister. Lady,
Appalling. They'll hire anyone these days.
So the best my dude can conjure in that moment is, and then Nev takes over and does all the talking for us. No chance for me to have any input into how this goes down. And when it ends, we stand right there in the middle of these goons talking openly about how...
What's happening behind them? Are those people being used as seats? Are they sitting on the people dressed in white?
We plan to murder the gods they worship.
It's Elganon, not Gillinane like we expected.
Oh, wait, that guy in the back doesn't have a mask on.
Shame. We have unfinished business with her. Next time I see her, she's dead.
The game opens with a sequence where you have a choice. Either you can talk your way through a situation or just resort to violence. Having played through this game, I can tell you right now that that moment is very deceptive because it suggests that this is a game where moments like this are a regular occurrence, and they absolutely are not. I'm not exaggerating when I say that outside of the companion missions, where you can decide how those stories end, and outside of the game's 2-hour finale, where you do make some
2-hour finale? All right.
Serious, impactful decisions.
Does somebody want to play the whole game for me and then I'll take it over at the last 2 hours?
There were a total of 2 moments in this entire game where I felt like I was making a consequential decision that would actually affect the flow of events. 2. Now, I'm not sure if there were additional consequential decisions buried in some side content or something I didn't do, but I played this game for 50 hours and for me, it was 2. And I know that sounds hyperbolic. You're thinking, that cannot possibly be right, but I promise you, there are 2 moments in this game where you make a meaty decision, and the rest of it just feels like...
Mass Effect, every decision is like a meaty decision. That's why Mass Effect games are so good, right? Two out of the entire 50 hours that he played, that's ridiculous.
Choosing between different colored M&Ms. I can't be more specific without spoiling things, but if you play this game, you'll see what I mean. Another load-bearing, choice-based system in any BioWare game is romance, and this has its own set of issues. Top line, it's just a super old, super outdated approach to player romance. It really is just selecting the heart button whenever it appears, even when it doesn't feel right for that moment, and rarely does it feel right for that moment, by the way. You just keep hitting that button repeatedly until you nearly kiss, and then something interrupts that moment, and then you come back later, and you need to either commit to that person or permanently close off.
For God's sakes, it's a fucking kiss. They used to show sex scenes, for God's sakes.
Any possibility of a romantic entanglement. So for me, I was flirting with everyone, and I was making progress with everyone. I had every member of my squad ready to jump me, but at one point I thought, okay, let's give Harding a try. Commit to that, see what happens. So here's what happens. We have a scene where we kiss. There's no sex scene. We can can continue whispering sweet nothings into each other's ears during dialogue exchanges or whatever, but at that point, romance dialogue options no longer appear for any other character at all. There's no option to end my relationship with Harding and switch over to someone else.
So they don't get jealous? They don't get mad? They don't act completely different around you now?
Most interestingly, none of the other companions, all of whom were very hot and heavy for me, none of them mention the fact that I have spurned their affections and gone with someone else. It's like all that flirting before never happened, and there's no disappointment and resentment about the fact that it led nowhere. It's consistent with what I spoke about earlier. There cannot be any actual conflict within the team, and a broken heart might make for some conflict. So instead...
And have conflict. Then you would have to hold hands.
It's just ignored, and it really makes the entire romance system seem as cheap and as flimsy as every other decision you make in Veilguard, masquerading as something real and meaningful when it just isn't. The absence of genuine choice at both the macro and micro level makes Dragon Age of Veilguard feel entirely on rails. The illusion of choice that is dangled in front of you is deeply frustrating because it teases a game that just isn't there, but it was there years ago in so many of the BioWare games we loved. The contrast between the past and present of BioWare's game design couldn't be more stark or more disappointing. So this is already a pretty long review, but
yeah, we're 34 minutes into it.
I do want to touch on Veilguard's more
12
playable
minutes.
elements, namely level design, open world activities, and of course combat. The level design in Dragon Age of Veilguard is very odd. It's essentially a collection of very narrow, labyrinthine corridors. It doesn't matter if it's a forest or a city or a necropolis or whatever, it all feels the same. The game
Hero says, I haven't bought a video game in such a long time because of shit like this. Well, you should have a lot of money saved up.
The game does not have any truly open spaces that you can explore or where you can make unique, surprising discoveries. This feels very counterintuitive in spaces that would naturally lend themselves to more open space, like, you know, one set near a beach or what's left of a battlefield. But funnily enough, it's actually kind of weirder in the cityscape areas. These cities feel more like Overwatch maps in the way they twist and turn.
It's all like super empty.
And how they're connected by zip lines, and the only way to get from point A to point B is to clamber over garden ladders, and it just feels really fake. Like, these are not real places, they're just video game levels. In terms of what you do in these spaces, most of it...
Dog says it's free to me, I'll tell you how it goes. I mean, I don't want you to go through it. Don't do it on my account. Don't do it on my account.
It's just combat. We'll talk about that in a second. There's also side quests. I did a handful of these, but honestly, they were just very generic MMO-style side quests that involved going to a place to either kill or collect stuff. Because again, this game has no other mission variety other than that. Maybe some of the side quests that I didn't do are good. I wouldn't know. The ones that I did weren't, and so I didn't do any more of them after about the 20-hour mark.
Do we know if it's actually rated teen for teens, Jones, or are you just saying that?
The other thing that you do in these environments is you open them up by completing puzzles. When you step into these levels, they're at first sectioned off, and you can expand them by unlocking a door or building a bridge, etc. So these puzzles, let me show you one puzzle you need to build a bridge.
Well, it only gets good 50 hours in, dog, so they're going to have to put some time. It's rated M. Yeah, terrible.
Now, I know you think I'm cherry-picking the worst possible example, so here's another one.
Is this the puzzles? Altern says rated M for man-child.
Okay, so maybe the energy cube thing is a little too heavy-handed an example. Surely there are more intricate and demanding puzzles than that. Here's one puzzle where I have to twist some statues to open a door. Just, here we go.
Those two statues are the spare key.
You just got to turn them towards the one shield that has the emblem. To turn that one twice.
We call it the Gloom.
Oh, for God's sakes.
I have like half a dozen other clips that are like this that are just the most mind-numbingly stupid puzzles you've ever seen in your life. It was like insulting to have to complete them. I genuinely do not understand how these made it into the game in this way. It's like BioWare thought that they needed to have some environmental puzzles, but didn't have enough time to make them good, or to make them any more challenging than like that bucket with the lid where you push the shapes through it. It's not just these puzzles that are half-assed, by the way, it's also open-world activities. So in addition to side quests, there are also these statues that you find which ask you to complete a quick challenge to earn some permanent, bonus health. That's fine. Here's what doing one of those statues looks like.
That's the knife. That's the knife you get in that order for the sweepstakes. You can get that knife. What is it with these companies? Starfield with the just going up on 7 times doing the thing. This is stand in one spot, throw the knife, and hit the thing 7 times. Like, have we lost our minds? Have we lost our minds as a society of developers? Of, hey, let's do something that's innovative. How about we float in the air? That's cool. No anti-gravity, and we just collect things 7 times. And this guy's like, let's put these little things and let's just throw our thing at it over and over. Amazing. Amazing.
That's it. That's the puzzle. And they're all like this. This isn't some tutorial version of it.
It's the exact same thing, right? It's worse than Starfield because that's the main campaign. And you're going, and that's how you level up your abilities.
All this obvious and...
Wait, is this how you level up the abilities here?
This easy. Again, why are these in the game? If I was to guess, I would say they're intended to serve as a pacing mechanism to break up the otherwise relentless focus on combat. And that's an admirable goal, because Lord knows, like, the less combat we have to do in Dragon Age Veilguard, the better. Combat's problems are as multi-layered as every other problem in this game, but the core of it is that just as there is no meaningful choice or variation in the RPG side of Veilguard, there's also no choice or variation in the combat model.
It does feel like that. It does feel like that, Titan. Where they had, because it was supposed to be like an Anthem game. Originally, when Dreadwolf was supposed to be a multiplayer live service type of game. And see, it does seem like there's some things in there that are still like, go on a journey, go out in the middle, open world type of thing, collect these things, the bloat of it. Yep.
You will choose a class, in my case the warrior, and you'll have 3 abilities you can have on your hotbar at any time. There are plenty more abilities to unlock in the skill tree, but pretty quickly you realize that it doesn't really matter what those other abilities have to offer, because the lack of enemy variety and how easily those enemies are dodged, parried, or stun locked, you really don't need to adapt your approach to anything. I can't overstate how limited the enemy design is in Veilguard. You may see enemies that look different from one another, but functionally they are almost identical, with highly telegraphed attacks that are easily neutralized and extremely limited movesets that cannot pressure you in any
How long is this in the game for, and how much damage is he doing? He's barely doing any damage to the guy.
way, shape, or form.
300.
No enemy in this game possesses a unique threat distinct from another enemy. You approach and dispatch every single one of them in the exact same way over and over and over again. You can switch weapons whilst playing, and that might have been an opportunity for BioWare to let you bind new abilities to that weapon type, opening up what might ostensibly look like a new combat style that you could switch between on the fly. But they didn't do this. When you switch your weapon, your abilities remain the same, so combat still feels the same whether I'm swinging an axe or using a sword and board.
That's not good. That's not good.
Now, to be clear, the only character you can control on the battlefield is Rook, but you can issue orders to your party members. This in itself is a massive missed opportunity because it would have been really cool to be able to play as a different combat style. But again, BioWare did not let us do that. Your party members each have 3 abilities that they combine to their hotbars, and at first I was like, okay, that means I'll need to be carefully choosing.
Oh, God. So when we saw this wasn't even their... I thought this was all your abilities. This is their abilities and yours. So you only have 3 abilities? No. No. Stop. Stop. So your top one is the okay, never mind. Is the bottom 2? How many companions do you have? 2. The middle one is yours. The one on the left is her is one, and the one on the come on, bro. You have 3 moves
to use at which moment, and etc. But no, using one ability puts all abilities on cooldown. So instead of party members
Oh my
feeling like
God.
actual party members, they're essentially just another cooldown on your hotbar.
I know, Water. When I first saw it and they showed that first gameplay, I was like, that combat looks really bad. And they could have showed you other moves, but they chose not to, which put a red flag up for me.
One that you can hit every like 15 to 30 seconds. What makes this worse is that the game uses a primer and detonator system, where I want to use one ability on one companion because it primes a target, and I then want to use another ability on another companion because it detonates that prime target. And these detonations deal not only big damage, but also AoE damage, and so much of it that you never want to use any other ability in your arsenal. You just use the same spell combination over and over.
I knew it. I knew it. I told you, chat. I said when we did it, I was like, you're going to find the one ability and you're just going to spam the shit out of it because that's the thing. I told you. I play so many goddamn games. I can see it from a mile away. I can see it from a mile away.
Over and over again, because frankly, you're playing the game wrong if you don't. So imagine you constantly spamming the same 3 abilities on your hotbar against the same repetitive enemy
game design,
while constantly using the exact same primer and detonator combo on your companions, and imagine doing that for 50 hours. There's a million other things I could say about this combat, like the frustratingly gated skill tree, which forces you to spend points on bullshit since you can only get a good upgrade every 10 levels, or the really basic upgrade and enchantment system which adds so little value that it may as well not be in the game.
And they use this as a way of saying, well, you could play it so many ways and different ways, and you could beat the game this way, and then you go back and pick 3 separate ones next time you play through. That is so bad.
Game, but I'll just finish by saying this. This is a world boss that I encountered early in the game. I was level 10, this thing was level 25. I would not be level 25 for another 15 hours. So that's how challenging this encounter was meant to be. Despite this, I did this encounter without dying and without a healer in my party. I just grinded him down because his moveset was so basic, so limited, and so
15 levels under. He was 15 levels under.
Easy to counter that all it took was time. And that's all the combat ever takes, because enemies are so spongy. And like I said, I've never done this before, but at the 40-hour mark, I took the advice of a friend who lowered the difficulty to the lowest setting just because they were so over it. And I cannot tell you how much better this experience was when I...
40 hours in, he lowered the difficulty because of the bars. It wouldn't be as spongy, is why he lowered the difficulty level. Oh my God.
Did that. Combat did not become better, it just meant that I no longer had to suffer through it, as enemies would die in just a few quick...
Krebsy, everything you said there is exactly why I wouldn't purchase it in the very beginning. I've been following this game since when Anthem came out right after. I said the developers left, they changed so many things. I was like, I'm staying clear of this, just like I talked about Skull and Bones in the past. I said, stay away from this game. Stay away from this game.
Kids, instead of soaking up dozens of them, my strong advice to you is that if you do plan to play this game, play it on normal difficulty for like the first 10 or so hours. By that point, you've honestly seen everything the Combat Sandbox has to offer, every ability, every enemy type, every boss type. So just lower the difficulty at that point and focus on the story, because yeah, I really wish I had taken that advice far, far earlier.
Give us the dread down.
Everyone suit up. All hands for this one.
So I want to be clear that the finale of this game is actually fantastic. It's a 2-hour gauntlet, and while the combat side of it remains the same, there are multiple impactful decisions to be made.
So a 2-hour gauntlet at the end. The ending is fantastic. Okay. But I have to go through 50 hours of mundane, boring gameplay to get to the finale. I will just watch it on YouTube.
There are multiple meaningful revelations. There are multiple thrilling set pieces full of action and emotion. Playing that final 2 hours, you cannot but think to yourself, imagine if the entire game was like this. But the reality is that the rest of the game is not remotely like that. The rest of the game is meandering and dull and childish, and all of its systems are so surface level. And that is my biggest criticism of Dragon Age the Veilguard. It is just so surface level. It has companions, but neither them nor their stories are any deeper than a puddle. It has a romance system, so it ticks that box, but it feels so awful.
Hilly says 30 gets really good after 50 hours. Suck it up.
liquid and cheap. It regularly offers you the choice to choose between this thing or that thing, but those decisions don't really mean anything. It has puzzles and side activities that feel almost placeholder, and it has this very flashy looking combat system that presents really well in a preview slice, but when you have to spend any more than a few hours with it, you see just how hollow and repetitive it is. I really struggled a great deal with how to write this review, and that's not like performative hand-wringing when I say that, by the way. As I've matured in this job, I've become far more aware of how I talk about games, striving to do so in a way that is both critical and constructive. And so as I look back over this script, I really wish I had more constructive things to say. But the truth is, I don't, and I'm no good to anyone if I'm not totally honest about how I feel about a video game. I would again stress though that this is just my opinion, and I know there are people out there who do enjoy.
The fact that he has to say his opinion is just his opinion. Okay, look, not everyone's going to like what you like. Not everyone's going to hate what you hate. It's okay that he doesn't like it and other people do like it. The reason I like watching him or ACG didn't get a code, by the way, or Force Gaming, okay, is because they just talk about it, and they do, just like he just said. They give constructive criticism, right? And he tells you what's good or bad. There's no fluff. Years ago, he was SkillUp, okay? But he's changed his ways. He flies himself to these events. He does certain things because he doesn't want to be known as SkillUp. He doesn't want someone to pay his way there. So he does this on his own dime now, okay? Because he got to that point. Now, you might not like him, and because you don't like him, you don't agree with what his thoughts are and opinions are, and that's cool. But you got to look at what he said about this and look at it and go to someone else. And if they don't bring it up, the same things that he did, and they just kind of skip over it, then that's a red flag. Just putting it out there, okay? If somebody says something positive, and then the person that you don't like says the same thing it's positive, and then the person that says negative, and then the person that you like doesn't say anything about that, that means they're hiding it, okay?
Enjoy this video game. So my only ask is that in addition to watching this review, please go and seek out the more positive ones as well. Find people with whom this game resonated, because this game might resonate with you too. And as I've said many times before, I would hate for my take to deprive you of an experience that you might love. For me though, Dragon Age: The Veilguard was so disappointing that I cannot muster any enthusiasm or excitement for the Mass Effect project that BioWare...
I am not happy about this Mass Effect project. Mass Effect, look, they can never take it away. 1, 2, and 3. 2 is my favorite. 3 is good. Okay, but the whole series as a whole is fantastic.
Currently working on. I hope they get the chance to make that game, and I hope it succeeds where Veilguard failed. But if either of those things are to happen, it's going to be against all odds, because I think Veilguard will mark a permanent shift in the way we talk about BioWare, and it's a shift that makes me really sad.
I said yesterday, give it a like. Go check out SkillUp's stuff. I said to Travis yesterday on Discord, I said, I think this game is never going to be talked about in a week. And what I mean by that is not that it's a bad game in a way. Like, even if it is a 10 out of 10, like, when you talk about BioWare, you talk about Mass Effect. You talk about the Star Wars games back in the day. That's what you know about BioWare. This game will not be talked about. Next year, you'll totally forget that Dragon Age Veilguard came out. It doesn't matter if it's a 10 out of 10, it wins Game of the Year. People will not bring this up in a conversation 10 years from now and go, oh man, Dragon Age Veilguard was such a good game. Because it's not. It's not. People want to make a game a great game, but a great game tells you it's a great game. Like, the game itself tells you it's a great game. You play the game, and you're like, man, this is a goddamn good game. And it builds up over time. Like, people love it, and they start picking it up, and they're like, oh, it's good. Word of mouth starts to spread. But that only works if the game's actually good. If word of mouth spreads and people pick it up and they're like, no, this is not good, right? This will not last more than 2 weeks. You won't even hear of it. You'll forget it even came out. Sad. It really is. What a bummer. Like I've said in the beginning, the reason I'm not getting this game is because of all the problems it had behind the scenes. Yeah, but I like... Lucas says, I love SkillUp. He was one of the only reviewers that voiced my opinion. See, I don't even like SkillUp because he voices my opinion. I like him because he breaks it down and tells you, you know, it's good, it's bad, right? He's not just, you should go buy the game, right? ACG, same way. He tells you the sound design. He tells you about the game design. He tells you about the dialogue. He tells you about the stuff. He just breaks it down, right? And as a customer, I don't want someone to tell me, right? I don't want a reviewer to tell me if I should play the game. I want the reviewer to tell me what the game is, review the game what it is, and then I decide based on his voice of, yeah, the sound design's, you know, fantastic, really good, okay? Forget numbers, right? The gameplay, this is what the gameplay is. I like the gameplay, this is what it is. You see it, you visually see it and go, oh, you know what? That does look good. And then you make the choice yourself. I don't like people telling me, this is a 10 out of 10. This is a 10 out of 10, because that means absolutely nothing. But if you, in your review, tell me all the good things, and I'm like, yeah, that does seem good, then I get to make the choice of, you know what, I think I'll pick that up sometime down the road because of what it is. Is it worth my time? Sure, you can align with people, Lucas. That's not what I'm saying, right? There's a difference between someone giving a review and telling you to yeah, go get it. And someone just giving you a review and giving you their thoughts on it, and then your thoughts kind of align because you see visually. This is why it's so important to, if you're a person that watches reviews, right? Personally, myself, I look at a game, and I'm going to get a game regardless off the marketing material itself. You show me the first gameplay, I look at that and go, that game looks interesting, I'm going to pick that up, okay? If it doesn't look interesting, then I'm not. That's the way I work. Joan says, let's not call it bad yet. We need 2 more reviews for that. I watched Paul Tassie's review yesterday, off stream. He had nothing but, like, he was gushing over it. Okay? He was gushing over it. Now I watched SkillUp, and he was shitting on it, basically, the entire time. Okay? Now, I heard some of the stuff that Paul said yesterday, and I heard now SkillUp's review, okay? Paul said there was no decision-making. You can't play the bad guy. Now, I don't really listen to Paul's reviews, okay? But he said you can't make any bad choices in the game. And when he said that yesterday, I said, if I was interested in the game, I will no longer purchase that game because you cannot make any bad choices. It is what it is. And then today, SkillUp says there is no choices, right? So I don't agree with Paul's review, right? But at the same time, he said certain things that SkillUp also touched on, okay? At the end, Paul said, it's a great game, replayability, blah, 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 okay? SkillUp says, can't recommend it. Can't recommend it. Now, I've listened to both. I saw the pros and cons of both, and the negatives outweigh the pros for me. That's if I'm just basing the game on the game. But I'm also basing it on what I know went behind the scenes, and I'm not touching it. Just like I didn't touch Skull and Bones. Because he says, kind of odd BioWare games go the shit once they switch to Frostbite engine. Dragon Age 2 modified Eclipse engine, Inquisition quality drop, Frostbite, Mass Effect 3, Unreal Engine 3, Andromeda, Frostbite, Anthem. Well, it's funny because Frostbite, they used Frostbite for this, didn't they? Didn't Frostbite use for this engine, right? And this game was supposed to be a live service game. It was supposed to be a multiplayer co-op type of thing. Right? Then they changed it. They changed the name. They changed the whole story. They completely redid the whole thing. Fired the whole staff. Well, not really the whole staff. They got rid of the heads and moved on to different ones. Yeah, in his review, he didn't even play. He said he played the 1-2, He never played the last one, right? Now I never played the last one either. I didn't play the third one. Okay, I played 1 and 2 myself. But he said he wasn't a big fan. He said he never liked them. And then he said he liked this one. Hilly says EA is going to need to pay me $70 to put $50 into this one. Argus says if SkillUp says he can't recommend a game, then I know I'm not buying the game. Man knows what he's talking about. Has some of the best reviews out there. He hooked me into ever since he reviewed of Nier Automata. Very passionate, very accurate. The only review I don't like about SkillUp's, and I was very vocal about it when we watched it, is his review of Destiny. His Destiny reviews were very, very biased. There was another game that it was biased on. I forget which one. But he's very biased. And he knew he was biased. On one of the games, I think it was Marvel's Avengers. It was Marvel's Avengers he was super biased on. He just hated it. He could not give you the review of Marvel's Avengers based on what the game was. He just hated it because it was microtransactions and everything like that. And he actually commented on it, I think at the next video. One of his next videos after it, like 4 years ago, he was just like, he's like, I'll do better. I'll do better. And that's why I like him now, and that's why I like ACG. Because they just tell you what the game is. He's much more articulate than ACG. ACG is very, boom, straight to the point. I understand that, but I still we look at his stuff because it's popular. You know what I'm saying, Jason? Like his stuff is prevalent inside of social media, news stories, and whatnot. You don't have to agree with him, but we can still have conversations about him. You know what I mean? Mokoki says, something seems clear for the most part. Old school Dragon Age fans don't like the newest game, and newcomers enjoy it. But there's plenty of shilling happening, too. Curious to see sales figures. Well, here's the problem, Mokoki, and I've said it. I don't know if you were here before. I've said it a couple days ago. I've said it earlier today. If they just took Veilguard and make it a separate... It was a brand new BioWare game. Brand new. New IP called Veilguard. Boom. Different stories in maybe the Dragon Age universe or something. Cool. But it's not connected to the old, I don't think it would be a problem. Okay? Now the question is, if the modern audience, okay, is the ones that are buying this, but there's not enough of them, why go towards that audience? Right? Disney has made this same decision, and most of their stuff is failing. So much so that they're changing the landscape of what they're doing. Right? So if a video game company is making a video game and they already have a fan base that's already sitting there, right? What is the sales numbers? Okay, let me see. Dragon Age. Let's see. We have sales figures for all of them. Okay, so Dragon Age Origins, 3.2 million. Dragon Age 2, 2 million. Heroes of Dragon Age was free to play, and Dragon Age Inquisition was 6 million. Okay? Is the audience that they're going for now, is that going to be bigger than the numbers that they put up there? It's weird changing the game so much in the fourth one. And that's why there's a lot of pushback. Ghost Fixer says, SkillUp and ACG are the only two I can trust when it comes to reviews. Yeah, but I only really watch them for stream because they just don't say, this is good, this is bad. They don't talk about all that other bullshit, you know what I mean, that articles are written about. They just talk about the games for what the games are. And that's what I appreciate. What's up, Super Dude? I don't judge a book by its cover, but I am giving a short par from a drama it's gotten. I've played them in the past. Wasn't so interested in them, but this one looks interesting to me. Now, you saying that you're not interested in the past games, but this one looks interesting. See, maybe they're going for that more, and that's not an insult to you, Super Dave, for that newer, casual audience that's not interested in them, and maybe they're trying to bring them in. Okay, is there going to be enough of those people that this brings in to not add on top of, right? Like here's the you got 5 to 6 million people that are already Dragon Age fans. You're losing, let's say, 3 million of them because they're just not interested in this. So now you have 2 million left. Is there enough new people to come in to surpass, or are they just replacing? You see what I'm saying? Are you bringing in 3 million new people to replace the 3 million that left, and you're back at the 5 million? Or are you bringing in more to replace them and then also surpass them? I don't think you are. I think you're losing. I think you're doing more harm than good doing what they're doing. You're talking about SkillUp, right, Brain? Yeah. Anthem review, and he put out a bad info after recanting and fell into the Destiny cesspool. Yeah. So he had a bias against live service games, right? And since the Marvel's Avengers one, he's changed his... I mean, we watch all of them over here. Oh, Tassie. You're talking about Tassie. Because SkillUp hates live service games. Hates them. One definitely game for a modern progressive audience. That's what happens in old franchises after a while. Crowded House says, I don't think the people that made good Dragon Age games still work there. Oh, no. BioWare is just BioWare of name. That's it. Inquisition had me waiting for this game. I'm bummed out. I'll keep playing by the backlog. Well, Kurt, you could maybe always pick this up down the road. Like, don't spend $70 on this today, right? Just wait and pick it up down the road. It's not like the game's going to go bye-bye. I mean, it's not going to be Concord. Right? You can still play the game, but down the road, just don't give them full price. No, it was supposed to be another Anthem, though. Super D. Like, this was supposed to be another Anthem. It was supposed to be a multiplayer live service game. Yeah, this is not good. BioWare is it's not BioWare. This doesn't bring any good hope when they bring in the next Mass Effect. Even when they start showing the next Mass Effect game, I am not going to be excited. And I love Mass Effect. If you guys have never played Mass Effect 2, I highly just play Mass Effect 2. It's some of the greatest, if you like RPG type of stuff, it's some of the greatest game you'll ever play. Super D says, I'm debating now. Look, all I have to say is I'm not trying to stop anyone from enjoying a game that they want to play, okay? If anything, on my channel, I try to save you your money so you can use it on something that actually is good, okay? Like, I'll try to save you $70 today so you can go pay $70 to a game that actually deserves it, or $70 and then you pay $30 or $40 down the road for the same game. Well, we don't know that yet. We don't know that yet, Jones. We don't know if it's a broken, buggy game yet. Okay? No microtransactions that we know of. But so far, the people that they've given codes and stuff to, a lot of them are more favorable. I do find it interesting that Austin reviewed the test, like the open thing that they invited people to, but SkillUp did the final review. And by the way, companies don't get a round of applause because they release a game that's not broke, buggy, with no microtransactions. That should be the standard, okay? The DRM free is also should be a standard. They don't get a, like, this is the standard. This is where everyone is. When they hit here, I don't give them a round of applause. They have to go above that to get a round of applause. Yeah, on my channel, I'm not trying to stop people from buying games, right? Buy what you like. All I'm trying to do is put out enough information out there and tell you, look, how many times did I tell you a game's going to come out broke, buggy, and unfinished? It does. You guys spend full price on it, and then you wait 8 months, 12 months, 16 months, and then it's fixed, right? I'm just trying to save you money, right? It's not like the money's coming to me. I'm just trying to put some information out there to save you money so you can spend your money on other things that actually are not broke, buggy, and unfinished. Well, they might do it. They might do a Jack Sparrow on it. I'm going through Twitter right now, just looking at some stuff. See if there's any other. Oh, where's that Indiana Jones thing? Did Indiana Jones show something earlier? There was Indiana Jones. -minute video. VGC has one months ago, 2 hours ago. Indiana Jones. Okay. Let's watch this. It's a 12-minute long video of Indiana Jones.
Devil.
Is this 12 minutes of video of gameplay video? What you don't know is the game is actually only 13 minutes long.
Everywhere. Damn kids. Someone's getting expelled tonight.
Hello, I'm Massive Head Haver, Jordan.
Oh no, we're not doing this. I want a video. Where's the video? Come on. Gameplay reveal 9 months ago, 2 months ago, 2 hours ago. Games Radar. No. Eurogamer. 1 month ago. IGN. Did they? All right.
Ha ha ha.
They're all talking about it. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle is one of the 2024's funniest games. Funniest game. Where is the thing that 2 hours ago? I don't understand. Everyone's talking about it. Oh, is it like an embargo thing that people played it? Is that what it is? I think that's what it is. All right.
The last truly great...
All right, let's watch IGN then. We'll watch IGN. Okay.
Indiana Jones movie
Ryan
came out
McCaffrey.
35 years ago. Since then, pop culture's most famous archaeologists' last two big screen outings have been flops. In fact, Indy's best work since The Last Crusade has come in video game form. 1992's Loop.
Where is it, Dolphin? Where is the actual gameplay? I'm typing it in and nothing's coming up. Two hours ago, I got VGC. I got Colt Eastwood. I got Reforge. 4 months ago, 2 months ago, 9 months ago, 2 hours ago, IGN. I don't know where the actual footage is. Like, there's people talking about it. The only footage of the actual thing is from 2 months ago. Haley, that's good. Maddie's editor has the footage. That's good. 8 points. 8 points for you. Yeah, there's no new footage. It's everyone talking about it, how they played it. You know what? We'll go back to VGC.
Medler with my preview of Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, featuring some brand new gameplay. I recently got the chance to travel down to London to check out Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. What you'll see today is brand new gameplay from some of the sections that we got to see. We cannot post it in full, hence you have to put up with me and my ginormous hatted head.
Oh, is he not? Okay, all right. We've seen this footage though. I'll give you 2 points, Titan, for the Boulder reference for Indiana Jones. Is that Voldemort?
All right, pal. You can't sleep here. Who the hell are you? Right. You asked for it. This is a museum. Careful.
I think it's fair to say that Indiana Jones has quite a spotty history when it comes to video games. So there's like the well-loved PC adventure games, which are actually a bit of a touchstone for this one. But there's also a few less than stellar efforts. It's always been Lucasfilm's second favourite child behind the money printing machine of Star Wars. But with Machine Games, who you'll know from Wolfenstein, they're looking to change that. We got to play 3 hours of the game and we think that they're well on the way to delivering it. There are many directions you could take the game. It would be easy to make something that doesn't feel like Indiana Jones at all. So if you focus too much on the puzzles, you'll lose that kind of car chasing, like punching side of it. I don't want to say the word, but you know who Indiana Jones punches. On the other hand, if it's all action, you miss the exploration and the puzzle. On the other hand, if it's all action, you miss the exploration and the puzzle solving side of Indiana Jones. And from what we've played, Machine Games has managed to take an approach that gives everyone a bit of everything.
On next plane to Rome. Stop. Need help. Stop. Meet me in Vatican. Stop. Indy.
My friend, stop. Vatican not safe. Stop. We'll wait for you at village steps. Stop. Subtlety is a virtue. Stop. Antonio.
The game, which is set in...
I mean, I'll be honest. All they have to do is make Indiana Jones like the movie, right? Not the last two movies, by the way. Like, if they just capture what the movie is inside, and this is a movie game, right? This is a movie game. This is not going to be like a Dark Souls type of game. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they just capture Indiana Jones, then it would be successful.
1937 following Raiders of the Lost Ark in the canon. Professor Jones is working
right. You're making this into a Tomb Raider, even though Tomb Raider and Uncharted is based off of
Marshall
this.
College when an ancient artifact is stolen. Indiana, being Indiana, can't let that go, and so it's to hell with all these students that have paid for their education, and off he goes. Our demo showed off 3 distinct slices of gameplay. The first was the game's intro in Marshall College. Here we completed a small puzzle which saw us match displaced artifacts to their appropriate displays. The first thing we noticed was the extremely high quality of the game's models. The artifacts, the display cases, even Indy's hands were extremely detailed, which is a huge plus for a game that will likely have you spending a lot of time looking longingly at bits of old pottery. After this, we travelled by map to the Vatican to play through one of the game's more linear levels. Here, stealth was the focus, as guards patrolled the outer walls of the world's smallest country.
Go left first, go left first. Oh, he went right first. Okay, I like that. Gotta pick up the other broom. You can just keep breaking brooms over people's heads?
Cos'è stato?
Well, he's not even gonna take that guy out. I pick up the body. What I want to know.
I typically don't love first-person stealth sequences because I don't like the lack of information it gives you. I much prefer a third-person experience like Hitman or something like that, but the Great Circle handles it quite well. It quickly lets you know when you're in the process of being spotted, and it's also lenient enough about allowing you to get back into hiding. If all else fails, you can employ the game's very best mechanic, lobbing everything that's not nailed down. When Indiana has been spotted or you just fancy a bit of fun, virtually every piece of hand-sized...
That's actually good right there, the way he collapsed on the table and then fell through it.
Set dressing can be thrown at enemies. Every bottle, brick and ancient bust can be lifted up and smashed against the side of unsuspecting enemies' heads. Not only is this outrageously good fun and a bit of slapstick hilarity, it's the closest we can think a game has ever come to.
It feels like the movie, right? The way he like punches. I said this in the past when we showed a punch, and then the way you see him hitting things, it feels like a movie hit. Does that make sense?
To recreating those action movie moments where the hero is grabbing whatever they can to take out a baddie.
You can pick up the bodies. Thank God.
In a tricky situation.
That's close enough. I want to take a pass on this. Another time, chum.
Oh, nice. I want to see that again.
Another time, chum.
Like everything about it. You know, the way he holds his fists, the way he swings his fists. It's almost a little bit of comedy as he hits them. Like the little attention to detail they're doing.
Getting closer.
You guys ever try to do that? Like pull yourself up on a rope like that?
Nice view.
It's also the method through which you can escape a situation.
I'm not talking about in the gym either, just doing this.
Launch a bottle
like
at a wall, and all the enemies will turn in unison, allowing you to nip off. The Vatican level also had a decent amount of exploration for being one of the more linear set pieces. We were slightly braver and stealthed past.
I hope the puzzles in this game are better than Dragon Age Veilguard. Turn thing 2 times.
Enemies that we didn't actually need to stealth past, but we got a key, which then unlocked a door to bypass a whole section of the level and take us up into the kind of higher area of the wall. So it's interesting to see the kind of various paths that you could have taken.
There it is. The village steps.
That's good.
Another satisfied customer.
He's even out of breath when he's punching.
Is that you?
Antonio.
We have to make haste. I just saw Father Ventura with a black shirt on his way to the Castello.
Father Ventura?
Jesus.
I said,
No?
who is Father Ventura?
We call him the Men in Black. A friend of Mussolini. Practically runs the Vatican now that the Pope has taken ill.
When we were caught, the game's hand-to-hand combat came into play. Indy does have a gun for when the going gets really tough, but that'll alert every guard in the area, leading to a virtually unwinnable fight. The hand-to-hand combat is fine, but we'd look to avoid it. Ripping items out of enemies' hands using the whip is great.
Those are the best type of expectations to have, though, Kurt. Don't have high expectations, right? Don't have high expectations.
Fun.
Like, just wait for the game and see what it is. The best part about this is, if you're on Game Pass, you don't have to pay for it.
But the actual punching isn't massively.
And if you're not on Game Pass, okay, just wait for people to play it and then you can find out.
Satisfying. Following this bit of jiggery popery, we were off to Egypt.
Ooh.
Bring it on. Wrong way, chum. That little guy packed a punch.
Was that his elbow? Hold on a second.
Packed a punch.
Oh, yeah, he hit him with his elbow. Yeah.
Ooh. This sequence took place slightly later in the game and is one of the game's far more open zones. We were given the task to recover a series of plates, and it was up to us to go and explore. This is where the game's disguise system comes into play. In a Hitman-esque move, Indy can
Sorry. Lowered Expectations by Jack Handy.
Dress up in various outfits that will permit him to pass freely in otherwise restricted areas. In this case, our costume was one of the slaves of the dig sites, allowing us to move around areas containing the plates without alerting Nazi officers. You can still stealth your way around the map just as Indy, but this makes things far easier. Our only reservation with the larger maps is that there was a fair amount of dead space between the various activities, but traversing them wasn't the most arduous challenge. There was even a few unmarked side activities here, like a man who managed to get himself locked in a hut with little clue as to how to unlock him. It feels like players could spend a huge amount of time here and there is a lot to do and you would get a lot of items and skill points, but if you want a more linear experience, it does lead you to the kind of golden path of what you're supposed to do in these open areas if you're that kind of player. Well, the gameplay...
I like that you don't have to because I explore everywhere, so it'll be good for me.
...seems to deliver what we'd want out of an Indiana Jones adventure. The other half of the coin is the presentation and the writing. As far as the writing goes, while we didn't get a great grasp of the overall story, the dialogue between the characters worked well. We were reminded of Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens, in the sense that the game doesn't feel like it's trying to do a reboot of the series, but more create a modern experience built in the mold of the 80s films rather than a recent one. All of Indy's dialogue sounds authentically 80s, and that's thanks in large part to an excellent Troy Baker performance, who threads the needle so well that you quickly forget you're not listening to unearthed Harrison Ford performances. Ford's visual likeness has also been captured incredibly well. So far, Indiana Jones and the Great Circle isn't just the
His wrist looks a little weird there.
Indiana Jones adventure that fans have waited 40 years for, it's the video game that the franchise has truly deserved. Machine Games feels like a match made in heaven for the franchise, and we left our demo extremely keen to play more. The balance of linear and open, combat and puzzles seems perfectly pitched, and it feels like an adventure that, were it released as a film in 1987, no one would bat an eye.
That's good, and that's what I'm saying, right? So it feels like they've captured that moment, and now he just said if they released it as a film, you wouldn't even bat an eye. Back in 1987, which is good.
But the secret was never found. The Germans have been searching, but the diggers are...
They're not making this for the modern audience. They're making this for the people of 1987, right? Because it takes place... Like, the movie doesn't take place in 87, right? But it was made in 87 about Indiana Jones. And this feels like a game made in 1987 about Indiana Jones.
on hold after a recent setback.
Does that make sense?
No one gets down to the tomb. Whatever is down there, it must be kept out of the hands of the Germans.
I'll see what I can do about that, Professor.
Thank you, Indiana.
Whether it belongs in a museum or not will largely be determined by if the team can pull off a memorable story, but so far all the ingredients are there for a pulpy Christmas break treat when the game launches in December. Thanks for watching. Remember to like this video, it helps VGC out a lot, and check out patreon.com/videogameschronicle if you want to support me in getting a hat that fits. Until next time, I'm Jordan Midler.
Pretty good. No young kids care about Indiana Jones. No young kids care about anything. You have a kid? I have a kid. Cares about nothing. Yeah. You're not going to convince them anything, right? I don't think they're looking to get Indiana Jones to sell like 10 million copies. I'll be honest with you. Like we're talking maybe 2 million copies, and people that on Game Pass. That's it. They care about sugar. All right, I'll give you that. It looked pretty good. Oh, I closed the thing. I didn't mean to close the thing. Yeah, I think it's cool that they've captured what Indiana Jones is. Right? Now, take this what you will. They did the exact same thing. Ubisoft and Massive captured what Star Wars looked like back if the movies were filmed back in the 80s. That's what they captured with Outlaws. That's as far as I'll go to say that, right? Outlaws got captured and looked like it was supposed to fit in that time frame. That's what this looks like for that. Now, I don't want to talk about gameplay and stuff like that, but hopefully Indiana Jones' gameplay is much better than Outlaws' gameplay, which it does look like it is. Hell, stealth already looked 10 times better. Disney's looking to sell 10 million? No way. No way. Sure. I'm not saying that the young people are not going to buy it. What I'm saying is I don't think there's going to be a massive amount of people buying it. Hence why I think it's a good fit for Game Pass. I think they'll sell 2. I'll say guaranteed 2. I can't say they're going to make the 4. I was just going to say that, Salty. I was just going to say that. Microsoft probably already paid them. Yeah, he probably gave them a large chunk of money just to bring it onto the platform to, you know what I mean? To kind of bring people in. Titan says, Todd funded this. Yeah, I think it's more of a, I mean, it's good. It's another reason. So next month you have Stalker 2 and Microsoft Flight Sim for November, right? And then December you have Indiana Jones and what else, right? Starfield comes out next month as well, right? So every month there's some game coming out on Game Pass that they're trying to keep you. Indiana Jones is that holiday game. Oh, for sure. I think so, Salty. They're already seeing a spike with Call of Duty, right? Call of Duty's October. Flight Sim, Stalker 2's November. Indiana Jones is December. There's one other game in December. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be a long game, House. I don't think it'll be a long game. We were talking about it last week, 2 weeks ago. I said I think I'm okay with a 8 to 10 hour game. I don't need a 20-hour game anymore. I don't have time to play a fucking 20-hour game. Oh, shit. It's almost 1 o'clock. I didn't see the time. All right. I got to run because I'm taking a trip down to South Florida today. So I got to get ready. I appreciate it very much, you guys coming out and hanging out with us as we watch the Dragon Age Skill Up review. We talked about Robert Downey Jr. with AI, and then we also talked about what was the first story we had? I fucking forgot what the first story was. You can rewind. But I'll appreciate you. I appreciate you. I will appreciate you. We won't be back tonight. Tonight, we're not playing any games. I'm going to be traveling tonight. Tomorrow morning, there will not be a morning show. Okay? There will not be a morning show tomorrow morning. There might be a Wednesday stream in the evening. It all depends if I get back in time. If not, I'll see you guys Thursday. Appreciate it very much. You guys have a great rest of your day, afternoon, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.